Our story unfolds in the mystical realm of Alphagard, a world teetering on the brink. Within this land, a master of dark magic known only as the Demon Lord rises to power. Carnage litters the landscape, the brutal aftermath of a colossal war against all who opposed him. With fiery eyes, the Demon Lord surveys his conquest, having just crushed all opposing races in a decisive war. He sits casually atop a fallen foe, unimpressed by the resistance of the world's allied forces. A smirk plays on his lips. This grand victory felt almost too effortless for his immense power. Suddenly, a glint in his eye betrays a flicker of surprise, sensing an unforeseen presence. The Demon Lord looks up, his composure momentarily broken by an unexpected development. His eyes now blaze with a manic glee, a true challenge finally appearing on the horizon. From the heavens descend radiant winged figures, a celestial army arriving to confront the triumphant Demon Lord. Ethereal warriors descend, their eyes burning with holy light, ready for a divine reckoning. The Demon Lord smirks, finding it rather quaint that God himself would finally deign to intervene. Magnificent feathered wings fill the sky, signaling the arrival of heaven's elite. Indeed, the formidable Seraphim Michael himself appears, his expression one of grim duty. Michael delivers the celestial verdict. The Demon Lord's dominion over these lands is officially revoked. The angelic host, a radiant swarm of power, closes in on the solitary figure of darkness. But the Demon Lord merely grins wider, his hand crackling with an answering surge of chaotic energy. His eye ignites with malevolent power, a storm of dark magic brewing within him. He unleashes a devastating counterattack upwards, a pillar of dark energy challenging the heavens. Light and shadow collide in a titanic explosion, the very fabric of Alphagard trembling from the impact. The Demon Lord's glare intensifies as his dark power sends an angelic adversary into a fiery tailspin. Not to be outdone, Seraphim Michael answers from above, unleashing a blinding torrent of celestial fury. Michael, a beacon of righteous power, gathers an overwhelming concentration of holy energy. A flicker of a smile on Michael's face suggests he's more than ready for this divine showdown. The Seraphim transforms into a living projectile of pure light, aimed squarely at the Demon Lord. Heaven's judgment impacts with devastating force, the ground erupting in a colossal explosion of light. The sheer power of the blast scatters even the angelic host, a chaotic ballet in the sky. For 3 grueling days and nights, their earth-shattering battle raged, a true test of titans. As a new dawn breaks over the ravaged land, a lone feather descends, marking the end of the epic confrontation. The Demon Lord remains standing, battered but unbroken, a heavy sigh escaping his weary frame after the prolonged ordeal. Seraphim Michael lies utterly defeated, a fallen star on the ravaged earth. The Demon Lord smirks, admitting even his immense power felt the strain of that celestial beatdown. His gaze sharpens, acknowledging the presence of Ishtar, the notorious captain of his demon army. Ishtar appears with a disarming smile, confirming it has indeed been a while since she last graced his presence. She descends gracefully towards the incapacitated Seraphim, her intentions chillingly clear. With a decisive movement, Ishtar ensures the mighty Seraphim's interference is permanently concluded. As Michael's form dissolves into ethereal light, Ishtar walks away, her part in this cosmic drama played. The Demon Lord, ever astute, questions Ishtar about the true agenda behind her timely appearance. Ishtar beams, explaining her previous inaction was simply because no one else could possibly topple him. Now, with him triumphant, she boldly declares her ambition to seize dominion over all creation. The Demon Lord is momentarily speechless, processing Ishtar's grand ambition with a flicker of surprise. A wild, blood-splattered laugh then erupts from him, thoroughly amused by her sheer audacity. He finds her audacious answer surprisingly refreshing, a worthy challenge to his own might. His eyes blaze with renewed manic energy, clearly relishing this unexpected confrontation. Ishtar, ever composed, coolly inquires about his current state after the celestial beatdown. She then slyly alludes to his legendary regenerative powers, questioning their current accessibility. Despite his battered appearance, the Demon Lord defiantly proclaims his own well-being with a grin. Her composure cracks for a moment, finding his resilience almost unbelievable given the circumstances. Ishtar gestures to the desolate battlefield, silently questioning his confidence amidst such utter ruin. A sudden, chilling realization dawns upon the Demon Lord regarding Ishtar's true, calculated intentions. Ishtar, ever the opportunist, decides to press her advantage before the Demon Lord can recover. With a decisive snap of her fingers, she signals the commencement of her treacherous plan. A formidable legion of her own demonic soldiers and armored knights instantly materializes on the battlefield. The demon lord, though battered and bleeding, greets this sudden betrayal with a ferocious, welcoming snarl. He's caught off guard by a swift, unseen attack, a fresh trickle of blood marking the new assault. A torrent of raw, crimson energy then engulfs him, his own eyes blazing defiantly through the onslaught. The demon lord is brutally pinned to the fractured earth, his body pierced by multiple shadowy constructs. A relentless barrage of spectral blades descends from above, a deadly rain aimed at the fallen sovereign. The overwhelming assault culminates in a blinding flash, the outcome of the fierce attack momentarily obscured. Ishtar throws her head back in wild, unrestrained laughter, reveling in her apparent victory. The demon lord's fading consciousness scoffs. Ishtar clearly underestimated his mastery over concepts like reincarnation. His essence disperses into the cosmos, a final knowing thought directed towards his treacherous captain. Elsewhere, a youth with strikingly familiar eyes and an arrogant grin lies on the ground, very much intact. This reincarnated being looks up, blinking into an overwhelmingly bright and unfamiliar radiance, a world away from the battlefield. Indeed, the setting abruptly changes to Tokyo in the year 20XX, where mystical gates stand amidst modern architecture. This version of Earth is now defined by the sudden chaotic appearance of dungeons within its cities. Gigantic, swirling vortexes dominate the skyline, ominous gateways to other realms. Media broadcasts excitedly proclaim the dawn of the Age of Hunters, a time of heroes in peril. A small, bruised boy watches the broadcast with a somber expression, reflecting on this new societal structure. He muses that such an era undoubtedly benefits the talented, a hint of longing in his gaze. He reflects that hunter awakening is a genetic lottery, with a test at 12 sealing one's rank and future. Elsewhere, a formidable cyclops, classified as a disaster-level threat, makes its terrifying appearance. Soldiers bravely open fire, attempting to neutralize the monstrous intruder with a barrage of bullets. The one-eyed behemoth merely grins, its single eye gleaming with malevolent amusement at their efforts. A soldier's face contorts in disbelief, unable to comprehend the creature's imperviousness. Their desperate assault triggers a significant explosion, momentarily obscuring the battlefield. A brief glimmer of hope appears as onlookers and soldiers anxiously await the outcome. That hope shatters instantly as a young woman's face registers pure, unadulterated horror. Through the settling dust, the Cyclops stands completely untouched, its power undeniable. The monster unleashes a deafening cry, throwing the terrified onlookers into a chaotic scramble. Amidst the chaos, a small girl lies sprawled on the ground, a victim of the monster's rampage. She looks up in pure terror as the monstrous Cyclops casts its menacing shadow over her. The one-eyed beast grins wickedly, raising its crude weapon, ready to deliver a final blow. Suddenly, a mysterious figure with a gleaming sword intervenes, snatching the girl from harm's way. The unknown hero, clutching the child, makes a swift retreat, evading the Cyclops' immediate reach. With eyes blazing and sword aglow, the rescuer prepares a devastating counterattack, the child held securely. A flash of steel, and the formidable Cyclops is cleanly bisected, its reign of terror abruptly ended. The hero stands tall, the rescued girl gazing up in awe as the city skyline looms behind them. Tears of profound relief and gratitude stream down the little girl's face as she beholds her savior. The surrounding crowd, including soldiers, stares in stunned admiration, recognizing the arrival of an S-rank hunter. The narration explains that dungeon monsters possess special barriers, rendering conventional weapons useless against high-ranking threats. Simultaneously with the dungeon's appearance, individuals capable of combating these monsters emerged. These superpowered humans, known as the Awakened, prompted nations to establish reward systems for monster hunting. The Awakened soon organized into guilds, forming parties to venture into the perilous depths of dungeons. Consequently, wealth, power, and envy began to revolve around these elite hunters. The scene shifts to the exterior of the Hunter Survivor Association, Casimir Foster Home. Inside, the somber boy watches the news report, his attention fixed on the term S-rank. He bitterly reflects that rank is merely an arbitrary barrier people label as talent, as a door behind him creaks. The boy turns, a look of apprehension on his face, towards the now slightly ajar door. A hand pushes the door open further as someone unseen calls out to him by the name Hiroto. A larger youth violently strikes Hiroto, sending him reeling. Hiroto's phone skitters across the wooden floor, a stark reminder of the assault. The scene starkly illustrates a harsh truth. The world divides into the awakened and the unawakened, the powerful and the powerless. Cowering, Hiroto endures the taunts of his tormentor, who feigns deafness to his pleas. The bully delivers another vicious kick, reinforcing the brutal dynamic of exploiter and exploited. A second larger bully joins in, his cruel laughter echoing as he demeans the orphan's worth. He coldly rationalizes their abuse, stating an F-rank awakened is barely better than a normal human, especially considering their upkeep. Tears stream down Hiroto's face, his eyes reflecting a deep well of despair and helplessness. His spirit crushed, Hiroto internalizes their cruelty, believing himself utterly worthless. Night falls over the neighborhood, but the sounds of distress pierce the otherwise quiet evening. As Hiroto suffers, his fallen phone suddenly emits an intense, unnatural blue light. The light from the device coalesces, pulsing with an unknown energy. Its screen reveals a Demon King application mysteriously loading, hinting at a power beyond this world. A poignant flashback begins, showing children, including a younger Hiroto, beneath blooming cherry trees. Even as a child, Hiroto courageously shielded a crying girl from unseen tormentors. The orphanage's core mission is revealed: to identify and nurture children with hunter potential. The flashback focuses on the girl, Yuzuki, undergoing her crucial hunter aptitude test at 12. Yuzuki's test results blaze forth, an S rank marking her as exceptionally gifted. A voice from the past echoes, a desperate plea for the bullying to cease. Transformed by her awakening, Yuzuki now fiercely protects a battered Hiroto, her strength undeniable. The flashback reveals a time when the protector, Hiroto, became the one needing protection. He recalls his younger self's tearful face, a stark reminder of his past powerlessness. Yuzuki, hailed as a genius, was whisked away to an elite hunter training school far sooner than others. Before leaving, Yuzuki sadly informed Hiroto she could no longer shield him. In a heartfelt embrace, Yuzuki offered Hiroto a final moment of comfort. She whispered parting wisdom, urging him to find his own way to fight and live wisely. With a simple farewell, Yuzuki prepared to depart, and Hiroto could only acknowledge. Hiroto watched Yuzuki walk away, the distance between them growing under a cherry blossom tree. He ponders her use of the word weak, a term that clearly stuck with him. Hiroto understood that even her seemingly harsh words were Yuzuki's unique way of showing kindness. Hiroto reflects that Yuzuki's kindness, however well-intentioned, had an unintended effect. Her words, meant to encourage, instead became a painful reminder of his perceived shortcomings. The scene transitions to a bright cityscape, signaling a shift in time or focus. Young, aspiring hunters, Hiroto among them, gather before a shimmering dungeon portal for mandatory beginner training. Inside the gloomy dungeon, a boorish senior hunter immediately lays down the law, declaring an unfair reward distribution. The lower-ranked E-class healer and magician, along with Hiroto, look visibly uneasy at this blatant power play. Two frontline damage dealers, a C-rank swordsman and a D-rank axe user, smugly expect compliance from their weaker party members. Hiroto silently observes their usual unpleasant behavior, his expression one of weary resignation. Suddenly, an unexpected voice cuts through the tension, daring to challenge the established order. One of the support-class hunters steps forward, much to the surprise of the group and the annoyance of the self-proclaimed leaders. The E-rank thief boldly questions the unfair loot split, demanding a merit-based system. The boorish senior hunter looms over the defiant young thief, a silent threat. With a sudden, aggressive move, the senior hunter hoists the struggling thief off his feet. The other two frontliners sneer, flaunting their B and C rank aptitudes as justification for their arrogance. Hiroto, eyes blazing with conviction, steps forward, his voice cutting through the abuse. He stands his ground, a newfound determination hardening his expression against the aggressors. Yuzuki's past advice about the weak finding their own way to live wisely echoes in Hiroto's mind. Despite his intervention, Hiroto internally berates himself, feeling utterly pathetic in the face of such injustice. As the senior hunters continue their rough treatment of the thief, Hiroto yells for them to cease, drawing their ire. The swordsman shrewdly stops his companion, reminding him they need the thief for treasure, postponing further conflict until after the dungeon. The axe-wielding senior seethes, promising retribution once they're out of the dungeon. With tension simmering, the party descends further into the ominous winding cave. Suddenly, multiple pairs of glowing eyes pierce the oppressive darkness ahead. A horde of goblins screeches, lunging from the shadows towards the unprepared hunters. The C-rank swordsman and D-rank axe user leap forward, forming a front line against the goblin onslaught. Both frontliners expertly weave through the initial wave, their weapons flashing in the dim light. The axe user brings his weapon down with brutal efficiency, cleaving through a goblin. He then barks at the support members, demanding faster magical assistance in the fray. The young E-rank magician, startled, hastily channels energy, casting a buff spell. Empowered by the support magic, the axe user continues his assault on the remaining goblins. The C-rank swordsman fiercely drives his blade into a fallen goblin, ending its struggle. With a battle cry, the party charges deeper, determined to eliminate every last monster. Hiroto and the thief watch from the rear, acutely aware of their limited combat roles but impressed by the frontliners' skill. A stark visual contrasts Yuzuki's S-rank rapid advancement with Hiroto's F-rank stagnant growth, highlighting a vast power disparity. The swordsman continues his deadly dance, effortlessly dispatching another goblin with a swift, clean strike. After the skirmish, the two frontliners and the magician survey the aftermath, a pile of defeated goblins at their feet. The senior hunters turn their frustration on the young magician, berating her for her perceived slowness and threatening her reward. The thief reassures Hiroto, acknowledging that in such a power imbalance, direct intervention was nearly impossible. The E-rank thief explains his defiance, stating that even in a beginner dungeon their lives are on the line, making the unfair loot split unacceptable. Leaning in, the thief directs a pointed, almost conspiratorial gaze at Hiroto, hinting at something more. The thief, with a determined glint in his eyes, confesses his immediate and pressing need for money. Hiroto looks surprised by this revelation, as the thief simply confirms his financial urgency. The E-rank hunter then unveils his grand ambition to establish a non-profit hunter guild. He explains his rationale, stating the current hunter guild system callously disregards the impoverished. The thief poses a poignant question to Hiroto about the countless lives that could be saved by dungeon potions. A visual highlights these coveted potions, famed for their mysterious healing effects and ability to cure incurable diseases. Hiroto recalls hearing about the immense cost of a single one of these life-altering elixirs. The thief shares a heartbreaking personal story. His older sister could have been saved, but they were too poor to afford a potion. He passionately declares that the current system, where vital aid doesn't reach those in need, is fundamentally wrong. Hiroto, visibly moved by the thief's conviction, acknowledges his amazing spirit and asks for his name. The thief, with a friendly smile, introduces himself as Akira Tachibana and prompts Hiroto for his name. Hiroto returns the introduction, and the two young hunters share a handshake, Akira pleased to make his acquaintance. Just then, the boorish senior hunter spots a gleaming treasure chest nestled deep within the goblin's nest, his voice booming with excitement. Akira, ever the professional, declares it's his turn to step up as support, a determined glint in his eye as he glances at Hiroto. He cautiously approaches the chest, acutely aware that any triggered trap would put him directly in harm's way, despite the senior's impatient urging. As Akira meticulously works on the chest, one of the senior hunters mutters a curse, clearly annoyed by the thief's careful pace. Meanwhile, the young magician attempts to reassure the healer, reasoning that a beginner dungeon shouldn't harbor truly dangerous traps. The kind healer offers Hiroto a potion, which he gratefully accepts, while in the background, Akira continues his delicate work as the seniors refresh themselves. Hiroto sips his drink, recalling that this particular dungeon is designated for training precisely because of its supposed safety record. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoes from deeper within the cave, causing the entire party, including the startled seniors, to react with shock and alarm. A blood-curdling cry is followed by the horrifying sight of a hunter impaled from multiple directions. The brutal reality hits hard as the unfortunate hunter is shown grievously wounded by the sudden trap. The young magician recoils in terror, her face a mask of shock as the very ground beneath them begins to fracture. Chaos erupts as the dungeon floor shatters, threatening to swallow the entire party. A dizzying blur signifies the sudden, violent shift in their surroundings. The hunters plummet into a dark abyss, a sinister figure observing their fall from the precipice above. Hiroto, having landed hard, groans in pain, the direness of their situation sinking in. His eyes widen in disbelief as he frantically scans the devastation, realizing the trap has caught everyone. The grim fate of one of the senior hunters is revealed, lying motionless amidst the rubble. For Hiroto, This dungeon descent marks a horrifying first, witnessing death up close. Hiroto, surrounded by destruction, confronts the stark realization that people die easily, his thoughts drifting to Akira. In that terrifying moment, an obvious yet profound understanding about their grim predicament dawns upon him. He foresees the harsh treatment awaiting him, the weakest link from the remaining panicked senior hunters. Gripped by sheer dread, Hiroto clutches his head, anticipating a similarly gruesome end for himself. The lifeless body of the impaled senior hunter lies amidst the rubble, a brutal testament to the dungeon's treachery. The other survivors, including a still grounded Hiroto, reel in shock as the full extent of the floor's collapse becomes clear. The young magician's face contorts in horror, the finality of their comrade's demise striking her with full force. Utter chaos erupts as the group descends into panic, the unstable ground threatening to swallow them whole. Amidst the escalating terror, the axe-wielding senior glares, his frustration boiling over into a dangerous resolve. He then unleashes his pent-up anger on the startled healer, delivering a sudden, forceful blow. The young magician shrinks back, her eyes wide with unspeakable terror as a menacing shadow falls over her. The axe-wielding senior erupts, furiously demanding an end to the panicked outbursts. He callously dismisses the fallen hunter, branding him an inconsequential thief who met a predictable end. A predatory grin spreads across the senior's face as he challenges anyone to dispute his grim logic. Hiroto and the magician exchange horrified looks, stunned into silence by the senior's brutal indifference. The two senior hunters stand firm, asserting their only setback is an inaccessible treasure chest. His stout companion vehemently agrees, insisting their fighting strength hasn't diminished in the slightest. Hiroto watches the young magician turn away, the grim reality of their situation dawning on them both. The axe-wielder outlines their escape plan, a direct ascent provided the dungeon floor remains stable. He then declares the magician's support magic essential for his climb before pointedly questioning Hiroto about the rope. Hiroto, tasked with providing the rope, prepares to retrieve it, understanding their new priority is escape. He clutches the rope, his gaze heavy as the fallen hunter lies nearby, the grim reality of their situation stark. The diminished party ventures deeper into the gloomy passage, following the senior hunter's lead. The healer, still shaken, voices her terror, questioning how a beginner dungeon could harbor such deadly traps. The young magician, her face etched with concern, theorizes they might be experiencing a rare dungeon paradox. The axe-wielding senior scoffs at the idea, clarifying if she means the dungeon's difficulty suddenly spiked. The magician nervously confirms, recalling that such unpredictable shifts in dungeons are known to happen, albeit infrequently. The senior hunter callously likens the fatal trap to a mere traffic accident, much to Hiroto's visible dismay. The two seniors then exchange cruel whispers, expressing relief that the deceased was Akira, whom they deemed insignificant to their strength. Hiroto seethes internally, a memory of Akira's friendly face flashing as he silently condemns their heartless dismissal of a life. Hiroto ponders the implications of a dungeon paradox, watching the party venture deeper. As they proceed, the young magician glances back, her unease palpable. Hiroto notices her distress, prompting him to ask what's troubling her. With wide, tear-filled eyes, she stammers that she just stepped on something unseen. The group halts abruptly as faint, ominous blue lines begin to glow on the cavern floor. Suddenly, spectral wolf paws, crackling with blue energy, materialize from the very ground beneath them. The healer, her light source casting an eerie glow, stares in disbelief alongside the equally stunned senior hunter. An entire pack of ethereal, glowing-eyed wolves emerges, surrounding the trapped adventurers. The terrifying silhouette of a silver fang appears, a creature they recognize as overwhelmingly powerful. The stout senior hunter panics, recalling that even as trainees, they were no match for such formidable beasts. The D-rank silver fangs bare their teeth, a terrifying trio leading the ethereal pack. The axe-wielding senior hunter despairs, knowing these beasts belong to far more dangerous restricted zones. The young magician shivers, realizing a monster-summoning trap is completely out of place for a beginner's trial. The senior hunters exchange panicked glances, acknowledging they're too slow to escape this many formidable predators. This escalating nightmare is confirmed as a dungeon paradox, specifically a dreaded chain paradox. A monstrous silver fang snarls, its glowing eyes and dripping maw promising a vicious fight. The party faces the wolf pack, understanding a chain paradox means relentless, overwhelming assaults. The axe wielder desperately seeks a plan from his stout companion, who can only offer a frustrated grunt. Yet, a flicker of something new crosses the stout hunter's face as he considers their dire options. A sinister glint appears in the stout senior's eye as he recalls a peculiar characteristic of the silver fang. The stout senior's eyes gleam with a sudden unsettling realization, drawing the attention of Hiroto and the magician. He recalls their training, where hunter academies drill students on monster behaviors to minimize danger. This crucial knowledge includes the specific tactics of creatures found even in beginner dungeons. The stout hunter remembers a key characteristic of the silver fangs, a detail now chillingly relevant. These predators, he knows, instinctively hunt the most vulnerable member of any group first. A cruel understanding passes between the two senior hunters as they finalize their grim escape strategy. The stout senior then callously gestures, informing Hiroto he'll be taking a different solitary path. Hiroto's face pales, a cold sweat breaking out as the horrifying implication of their plan dawns on him. The senior hunter clarifies Hiroto's role as bait, then instructs the magician on how to handle any deviation. He coldly orders the magician to use her magic on Hiroto if he dares to follow them instead of the wolves. Hiroto stares at the magician, desperately hoping she won't betray him, his face a mask of disbelief. The magician, tears streaming, forces a pained smile and utters a single devastating apology. A bewildered Hiroto turns to the healer, his voice cracking as he questions the sudden strange behavior of his supposed allies. He implores the healer to see reason, begging her to tell the seniors their cruel joke isn't funny. The healer turns away, her shoulders slumped in defeat, unable to meet Hiroto's pleading gaze. With a heavy heart, the healer confesses her agreement with the seniors, prioritizing her own survival. Hiroto, aghast, makes a last-ditch appeal for unity, reminding them they're supposed to be allies. The magician and healer can only offer tearful apologies, their fear overriding any loyalty as the magician's staff glows ominously. Hiroto stands isolated, a spotlight of despair illuminating his confusion at their hollow apologies. With a final sorrowful glance, the magician darts past Hiroto, leaving him to face the wolves alone. Hiroto furiously challenges their hollow apologies, questioning if words alone can absolve their treachery. He reaches out in a final desperate gesture as his former comrades disappear into the passage, leaving him behind. A spectral wolf pounces, overwhelming Hiroto as he confronts the brutal unfairness of his fate. The magician Yuzuki casts a final, guilt-ridden glance, her tear-streaked face a silent admission of her part in his doom. With a snarling beast upon him, Hiroto's tears flow, the crushing weight of being deemed expendable sealing his despair. The ethereal wolf attacks with vicious speed, a blur of spectral energy and sharp claws. Hiroto is viciously mauled by the silver fang, the ferocity of the assault undeniable. His eye, wide with unimaginable pain and terror, reflects the savage attack he's enduring. The aftermath is grim, with signs of the brutal encounter scattered as the wolf pack circles. Two more silver fangs, their eyes burning with predatory light, bare their teeth, promising more pain. Amidst the carnage, Hiroto confronts the terrifying possibility of his own demise. A painful memory surfaces, his past self, weak and targeted, vowing never to need protection again. His younger resolve echoes, a desire not just for safety, but to become a protector himself. Yet, in this dire moment, the crushing realization hits, he was utterly powerless once more. A desperate burning wish for strength ignites within him, a silent plea against the encroaching darkness. On the bloodied cavern floor, amidst the circling spectral wolves, lies Hiroto's discarded phone. Suddenly, the phone's screen erupts in an intense, blinding flash of light, cutting through the gloom. A silver fang, its jaws stained from the recent assault, recoils in surprise at the unexpected radiance. The entire wolf pack, momentarily distracted from their prey, turns its attention to the glowing device. Two more ethereal wolves, their eyes blazing, fixate on the mysterious light, their predatory focus shifting. The silver fangs, momentarily baffled by the light, still snap viciously near Hiroto's grievously wounded form. Lying broken, Hiroto is a hair's breadth from death, his severed arm a grim testament to the wolves' fury, yet the phone continues its strange glow. The phone's screen flickers to life, displaying Demon King application and announcing it's analyzing Ijima Hiroto's status. A chilling message appears. Strong desire for power confirmed. Access to Ijima Hiroto's soul completed. The device erupts in a prismatic burst of energy, bathing the bloodied scene in an otherworldly luminescence. This mysterious light seems to surge directly into Hiroto, a desperate, last-second intervention. A status window materializes, revealing Hiroto at level 2, HP critically at 0, but with life linker activated. His HP bar stares back, an empty void at 072, confirming his near-fatal state. Miraculously, the HP bar begins to rapidly refill, surging from nothing to full 7272 in an instant. The phone then displays a new message. Skill life linker cooldown 180 seconds, hinting at the source of his impossible recovery. Hiroto's eyes flutter open, a spark of consciousness returning against all odds. He slowly pushes himself up from the blood-soaked ground, dazed but undeniably alive. The phone reiterates the life linker skill is now on a 180-second cooldown, a crucial detail for his survival. Tears of disbelief stream down Hiroto's face as he clutches his throat, overwhelmed by his miraculous recovery. Sitting amidst the carnage, Hiroto dazedly questions if he has truly been saved from certain doom. He then ponders the impossible, wondering how his grievous wounds completely vanished. His gaze falls upon the still glowing phone, realizing this mysterious device is his only lifeline. Hiroto picks up the phone, his expression a mixture of confusion and a dawning, unsettling awareness. The screen boldly displays Demon King application, prompting Hiroto to question its ominous title. He stares at the peculiar app, utterly perplexed as he has no memory of ever downloading it. Hiroto spots the crimson stains on his clothes, his mind struggling to process the implications. A visceral flashback confirms the savage wolf attack was no mere nightmare. He claps a hand to his mouth, the horrifying reality of the mauling crashing down. The sheer terror of the encounter was far too vivid to be dismissed as a dream. Still disoriented, Hiroto realizes his current solitude speaks volumes about what transpired. He stares into the cavern's depths, the bitter truth of his abandonment sinking in. Despite the betrayal, Hiroto steels himself. Survival and escape are now paramount. He cautiously ventures deeper into the eerie, mist-filled cavern, illuminated by strange crystals. Further in, Hiroto discovers the remains of several defeated goblin-like creatures. A grim understanding dawns. His former comrades likely dispatched these foes as they fled. Hiroto, still reeling, spots a downed creature, but a flicker of movement catches his eye. From the cavern's oppressive darkness, a pair of malevolent, glowing eyes locks onto him. Suddenly, a one-armed goblin, very much alive, leaps from the shadows, launching a surprise attack. The creature sinks its teeth into Hiroto's shoulder, a fresh wave of agony coursing through him. Overpowered, Hiroto is slammed to the ground, the goblin relentlessly pressing its assault. Pinned and vulnerable, he endures another vicious bite, his cries swallowed by the cavern. The goblin, bloodied and fierce, glares with a chillingly triumphant predatory gaze. Despite the pain, Hiroto fights back, landing a desperate blow to the creature's side. His fist connects with surprising force, a testament to his will to survive. The narrative then reminds us that goblins are typically dismissed as mere cannon fodder. Hiroto's desperate punch connects squarely with the goblin's jaw, the impact clear. Adding insult to injury, this particular goblin is revealed to be fighting with only one arm. A harsh spotlight of realization dawns. He's currently weaker than this supposedly trivial one-armed monster. The goblin's remaining clawed hand lunges for Hiroto's face, terror filling his eyes. Pinned again, Hiroto suffers as the creature continues its vicious assault. With glowing eyes and a bloodied grin, the goblin savors its apparent upper hand. But hope flickers as Hiroto's phone displays life linker cooldown 10 seconds, counting down rapidly. The countdown hits 0, and the screen boldly declares skill life linker activate. A new notification details Life Linker, a 24-hour limited skill sharing the Demon Lord's life force. The skill list confirms Life Linker is now active, tied to the ominous Demon Lord of Gluttony as a passive effect. The goblin's claw rakes across Hiroto's face, drawing blood as the Life Linker skill takes effect. Hiroto's eyes widen in shock, a strange energy crackling around him as the skill fully activates. The one-armed goblin stares at its bloodied hand, momentarily confused by its victim's sudden resilience. With newfound strength, Hiroto catches the goblin's next attack, his hand glowing with an ominous red light. He retaliates instantly, delivering a powerful, energy-infused punch straight to the goblin's eye. The goblin reels from the unexpected blow, while Hiroto, though battered, pushes himself into a sitting position. Spotting a nearby rock, Hiroto quickly snatches it, his resolve hardening. He glares at the stunned goblin, clearly intending to end this fight decisively. With a surge of desperate strength, Hiroto brings the rock crashing down on the goblin's head. A system notification pops up, announcing an achievement. Hiroto has subjugated a unique goblin variant. A new notification declares the Demon Lord of Gluttony skill has activated, consuming the goblin variant through the app. The system announces a +1 adjustment to his power status, completion of the Gluttony quest, and a special bonus to all stats. His status window begins updating, displaying his name, Ijima Hiroto, alongside his initial HP and MP. The updated status reveals Hiroto is now level 2, with Life Linker activated and his core attributes listed. A closer look shows his HP and MP significantly increased, with a notable +1 bonus applied to his strength. Hiroto stares at the floating status screen, his expression one of utter disbelief at the sudden power-up. Still reeling next to the fallen goblin, he gawks at the glowing interface, completely bewildered by this turn of events. The scene shifts, showing armored figures, likely his former party, hastily retreating through the cavern. One of the fleeing figures convulses, green energy crackling around them as they clutch their side in apparent agony. The Demon King application on a phone screen glows ominously, green lightning arcing from it as it analyzes someone's status. Meanwhile, the phone app reveals Ryuji Ijima's status, his HP and MP displayed amidst crackling green energy. Back with Hiroto, his own level 2 status screen glows, reflecting his complete astonishment at his newfound power. The app then focuses on Ryuji again, now level 4, his stats clearly inferior despite his higher level, as he grimaces. Hiroto, still beside the vanquished goblin, stares blankly at the impossible interface floating before him. He tentatively reaches out, utterly baffled by this sudden game-like status display appearing in reality. His mind races, trying to comprehend not just levels, but this entire status window phenomenon. Suddenly, a flicker of insight flashes in Hiroto's eye, a dawning awareness of something more. Even as he processes his victory, an unnerving premonition tells him unseen dangers lurk nearby. He glances towards the cavern's depths, a chilling question forming. How did he sense that hidden threat? A bead of sweat traces his temple as a subtle, almost predatory smile touches Hiroto's lips, hinting at a new instinct. Hiroto feels an electric surge, his very senses sharpening to a razor's edge. His status screen reflects this, his agility stat now glowing, hinting at his heightened perception. He briefly wonders if this uncanny ability to sense danger is what thieves in stories feel. Standing over the fallen goblin, bloodied but resolute, Hiroto braces for whatever comes next. With a decisive flick of his wrist, he sends a rock skittering into the cavern's depths. From the shadows, a hulking, pig-like beast with glowing eyes turns, alerted by the sound. Hiroto's gaze locks onto the new threat, his eyes burning with a wild, almost feral intensity. He lunges, rock held high, aiming a devastating strike at the surprised creature. The improvised weapon connects with shocking force against the beast's snout. Such is his newfound strength that the massive monster is sent flying upwards from the impact. Hiroto follows through with his rock strike, the impact clear as the beast hits the cavern floor. Despite his successful ambush, Hiroto grimaces, realizing this fight is far from advantageous. His mind flashes to a comparison. Orcs are clearly a higher rank of difficulty than mere goblins. A mental chart confirms it. Goblins are F rank, while this orc is a more formidable E rank opponent. The scale continues, showing even stronger silver fang beasts rated as D rank, implying greater threats lurk. He understands that even a successful ambush doesn't guarantee victory against such a creature. Hiroto knows that with his current strength, even the rock won't inflict decisive damage on this orc. A spark of determination ignites in his eyes as he rapidly considers his next move. He resolves that his only option is to thoroughly attack from his current advantageous position. The orc lies stunned on the ground, a dark stain spreading beneath it from the powerful blow. Against all odds, Hiroto clutches his chest, a notification heralding his victory over a never-before-seen orc variant. Before he can process his triumph, a new ominous green skill notification flashes before his startled eyes. The Demon Lord of Gluttony skill activates, consuming the orc variant through the app and granting him a status boost. His level skyrockets in an instant, experience points calculating rapidly as he jumps from level 2 to level 3. His updated level 3 status reveals significantly boosted HP and MP, with his strength stat receiving a notable bonus. Utterly drained, Hiroto stares blankly at the overwhelming influx of information on his glowing status screen. He gawks at the interface, his mind struggling to comprehend the bizarre, game-like reality unfolding around him. Standing alone amidst the cavern's gloom, Hiroto crosses his arms, pondering the floating screens and his sudden power. A simplified status display highlights his level 3 stats, noting his disproportionately high strength compared to other attributes. Bloodied but resolute, Hiroto grips the rock tighter, a bead of sweat tracing his temple as determination hardens his gaze. With newfound ferocity, Hiroto clenches his fist, the rock still slick with the orc's essence. He stares at the purple crystalline rock in his hand, a strange artifact from the defeated orc. Testing his limits, Hiroto squeezes, and the solid rock shatters in his grip with an explosion of energy. His eyes widen in sheer disbelief as he stares at his hand, now capable of such destructive force. The reality of crushing stone with his bare hands sinks in, leaving him utterly astounded. He realizes this raw power far surpasses that of any adventurer school trainee. Doubt flickers across his face. How could someone once deemed to have low aptitude possess such might? His gaze shifts to the ever-present status window, seeking answers in its glowing runes. The level 3 stats mock his disbelief, strength 9, a testament to his impossible growth. Suddenly a new threat emerges from the darkness as a swarm of glowing bats takes flight, one already struck by a stray shard. Hiroto, marked by battle, wipes his face, his expression hardening with resolve. As bats swarm, he realizes he's beginning to understand the mysterious message window's mechanics. The Demon Lord of Gluttony skill activates upon the first defeat of a monster species, like orcs or goblins. A flashback shows the raw power of his punch connecting with the orc, a testament to his growing strength. He deduces that muscle-type monsters, such as goblins and orcs, grant a bonus to his strength stat. Looking back at the fallen orc, Hiroto processes this new understanding of his power absorption. He swiftly dispatches a cave bat with a powerful kick, testing his theory. Indeed, the system confirms that cave bats, true to their nature, provide a bonus to agility. A mental tally reveals the specific stat boosts from each monster type. Strength from goblins and orcs, agility from bats, mana from skeletons, and constitution from golems. His status window updates again, displaying his new level 4 and significantly enhanced stats, reflecting his rapid growth. His status screen proudly displays level 4, with strength hitting a solid 10 and other stats impressively boosted. A memory surfaces, a younger Hiroto learning that solo adventurers level up the fastest. He reflects on his astonishing progress, jumping 2 whole levels in such a short time. Surrounded by glowing crystals, Hiroto gazes into the cavern's shadowy depths, a new path ahead. His resolve solidifies. He decides to press on, aiming for the very heart of the dungeon. Reaching out, his bloodied hand meets an invisible barrier, confirming his suspicions about restricted access. A shimmering hexagonal force field blocks his path, a clear sign he can't just waltz into the deepest section. Undeterred, Hiroto sets a new goal, to take down the formidable silver fang lurking within these walls. Suddenly, vibrant lights flash above him, heralding yet another system notification. A mission window materializes, announcing a new quest for conquering the beginner dungeon with a 10-second countdown. Hiroto stares, baffled by the sudden appearance of a new quest notification amidst the chaos. The glowing quest window fades, leaving him to ponder its meaning in the eerie silence. A bead of sweat forms as he contemplates the relentless game-like challenges unfolding. Suddenly, a ferocious silver fang wolf, eyes blazing with hunger, materializes from the shadows. His eyes widen as not one, but a whole pack of silver fangs emerges, surrounding him. The glowing-eyed beasts snarl, their predatory gazes fixed on their lone prey. He grimaces, recognizing this onslaught surpasses any mere dungeon stampede he's ever heard of. His status screen flashes, highlighting his agility stat, a crucial factor against these swift predators. Bloodied but defiant, Hiroto braces himself, understanding the dire peril he now faces. He stands as the last line of defense against a veritable sea of snarling, white-furred reapers. His instincts scream danger as the silver fang pack closes in, their eyes glowing with menace. A wolf lunges, its massive jaws snapping perilously close to a startled Hiroto. He counters with a swift, powerful blow, intercepting the beast mid-attack. A grim satisfaction crosses his face. His newfound strength is undeniably real. His status screen flashes, emphasizing the crucial agility stat in this high-speed confrontation. He realizes with dawning confidence that he can now match the Silver Fang's notorious speed. Hiroto blazes past a wolf, his movements a blur thanks to his enhanced agility. He unleashes another devastating punch, connecting squarely with a charging Silver Fang. With a defiant glare, he challenges the remaining beasts, ready for their next move. Hiroto expertly dodges a snapping jaw, the wolf's attack whistling harmlessly over him. One particularly fierce Silver Fang, cloaked in azure fire, pivots with deadly intent. Hiroto, bloodied but sharp, grimly acknowledges his disadvantage fighting bare-handed against such foes. An aerial view reveals the chilling truth. He's utterly encircled by a sea of glowing, predatory wolves. Though battered and his clothes torn, a flicker of defiance remains in his weary eyes. He questions the sheer scale of this assault, a veritable legion of Silver Fangs closing in. A dreadful sense of familiarity washes over him. This overwhelming scenario feels like a recurring nightmare. The pack tightens its circle, a chilling echo of a previous devastating confrontation. A stark crimson splatter against the cold dungeon wall tells a silent, brutal story of impact. The grim scene unfolds as the pack appears to have subdued their quarry after a vicious struggle. Just as his HP hits 0, a system notification declares the lifelinker skill has activated, snatching him from defeat's jaws. A Silver Fang stands over its seemingly defeated prey, Hiroto's arm caught in its jaws. Miraculously, Hiroto's status screen flashes lifelinker activated, his HP bar instantly refilling from 0 to full. The system announces the Demon Lord's life force has been transferred, granting him a second chance with a cryptic HP link remaining timer. The very wolf that delivered the final blow now recoils, blue energy particles erupting from its form. The other Silver Fangs stare upwards in confusion as ethereal blue light streams into the air. Hiroto's dismembered arm, now glowing with the same blue energy, is drawn skyward as the wolf below looks on. Defying gravity, Hiroto's entire body is lifted from the ground, enveloped in a cascade of shimmering blue particles, leaving the wolves below. He hangs suspended in midair, battered and torn, as the mysterious energy swirls around his unconscious form. His eyes snap open, revealing an unnervingly calm gaze as faint, glowing sigils appear on his neck. Hiroto stumbles back to the cavern floor, visibly shaken but undeniably alive after his brush with oblivion. Back on the ground, Hiroto finds himself still encircled by the menacing, blood-stained Silver Fangs. Before he can fully recover, another ravenous beast, its maw crimson, lunges with deadly intent. In a sudden, violent blur, several attacking wolves are forcefully sent reeling backwards. His system announces a new boon. Pain Tolerance LV1 has been acquired and activated, a testament to his endurance. The remaining Silver Fangs stare upwards, perplexed, as more ethereal blue particles rise from the bloodied ground. An aerial view shows Hiroto enveloped by these swirling azure energies, the wolf pack now keeping a wary distance. His expression shifts, a dawning understanding in his eyes as the blue particles dance around him. A terrifying memory surfaces, a vortex of snapping jaws, the raw dread of being overwhelmed. He grimly considers the burdensome nature of an unkillable body, a concept he's seen explored many times. The dark reflection continues, musing on how immortality could deny the ultimate release to those who suffer. He reflects that immortality under such duress might be the cruelest fate imaginable. Hiroto acknowledges he's currently enduring this very curse, a living testament to endless suffering. His system rapidly upgrades his pain endurance, even granting him a new gut skill amidst the torment. He understands that even with enhanced tolerance, the agony is merely suppressed, not erased. Despite grievous injuries, the level of pain remains a constant, brutal companion. Hiroto continues his desperate, bare-fisted struggle against the relentless, bloodied wolves. He grimly concludes that without a proper weapon, his efforts against the pack are futile. A chilling memory surfaces of a figure pierced by numerous blades, hinting at a past ordeal or a desperate idea. A spark of desperate resolve ignites in his eyes as a new, risky plan forms. This realization compels him to retreat towards a specific, ominous location he recalls. Tears of raw anguish stream down his face as the crushing weight of his predicament becomes unbearable. His desperate retreat leads him towards a specific, tragic site, the fallen Akira, pierced by multiple weapons. A closer view confirms Akira's grim end, a prominent sword lodged deep within their still form. With grim determination, Hiroto wrenches the bloodied sword free, claiming it as his own. A blood-mouthed Silver Fang, undeterred by his new armament, launches another ferocious attack. Hiroto counters, the the newly acquired blade singing through the air as he meets the beast's charge. A fierce, almost unhinged satisfaction lights his eyes. The sword has decisively turned the tables. He stands before the remaining pack, one wolf already dispatched, ready to unleash further carnage. Surrounded by azure energy, a wild, almost joyful battle lust consumes him as he anticipates the ensuing slaughter. The intense battle scene abruptly cuts to a news anchor on a screen, discussing the concept of gaining experience. The news broadcast shifts to a discussion about risky methods for gaining experience, like solo hunting or tackling high-level threats. A bandaged Hiroto, watching the program, hears the anchor ponder the implications of a rookie defeating 100 silver fangs. The anchor emphasizes that such an achievement would be nothing short of legendary. Back in the dungeon, an utterly spent Hiroto sits amidst the aftermath of his brutal victory, the ground littered with fallen wolves. Overwhelmed by the ordeal, he releases a silent scream of agony and exhaustion, blood marking his face. His system log scrolls rapidly, detailing multiple life linker activations and significant upgrades to his pain tolerance and gut skills. The log further reveals numerous level-ups and a peculiar achievement, subjugating a unique Silver Fang variant absorbed by the Demon Lord of Gluttony. As a result of this extraordinary feat, Hiroto is awarded the prestigious title of Giant Killer. His status screen reflects his new power. Level 4, significantly boosted stats, the Giant Killer title proudly displayed, and maxed out pain tolerance. Hiroto, splattered with evidence of his struggle, stares in dazed confusion at his newly acquired formidable abilities. His status log proudly displays the Giant Killer title, granting a hefty 20% damage boost, and his guts skill levels up, further bolstering his HP. Hiroto, still marked by battle, ponders if these incredible gains are real, questioning the feasibility of reaching level 10 in a single day. He runs a hand through his hair, a troubled expression clouding his features as he processes the unbelievable events. Doubts surface about his own aptitude for leveling and the trustworthiness of the very system granting him power. He eyes a complex, unfamiliar status screen with suspicion, trying to decipher its true meaning. The screen confirms his new reality, Ijima Hiroto, level 10, with surprisingly full HP and MP and a notification bell demanding attention. A massive, glowing quest window materializes before him, and Hiroto can only point in bewildered acknowledgement. The system throws down a gauntlet, a 24-hour limited quest to challenge a higher-ranked dungeon, promising even greater rewards thanks to his unique skill. Hiroto stares in disbelief at the audacious dungeon challenge, wondering how this is possible when he hasn't even dared the forbidden depths of his current one. A crucial piece of lore surfaces. The beginner dungeon's forbidden zone once served as a gateway to another, more perilous dungeon. Surrounded by the vanquished, Hiroto acknowledges his newfound power, the quest window demanding an answer. He recalls the Demon Lord of Gluttony skill, a grim reminder of how he absorbed a variant creature. The quest details a higher-ranked dungeon, promising even more formidable foes from other dimensions. His blood-streaked face shows a steely resolve, yet he questions the wisdom of facing even stronger dimensional monsters. He flashes back to the brutal reality: he can't die, but every wound, every attack, is still agonizingly real. With chilling clarity, Hiroto understands the grim distinction and vows never to endure such torment again. He turns his back on the quest and the fallen wolves, a silent refusal hanging in the air. A gentle, ethereal voice calls his name, a stark contrast to the dungeon's horrors as he pauses. A poignant memory surfaces, a tearful, smiling girl reaching for him amidst a shower of petals. The system interjects, urging him to check his life linker status before making any rash decisions. Hiroto, still bloodied, taps his status screen, drawn to the details of his life linker skill. The system prominently displays the life linker skill with a timer counting down, just over 18 hours remaining. His blood-stained fist clenches tightly, a tremor of suppressed emotion running through his arm. Suddenly, an unseen force seems to strike him, the ethereal voice from before now harshly admonishing him. He reels back, the voice continuing its verbal assault, accusing him of wasting his life. The harsh words about his supposed lack of talent hit him hard, visualized by impactful imagery. The image of the girl from his memory reappears, her expression now stern and disappointed. Overwhelmed, Hiroto looks down, tears welling as the voice questions if he's truly content with his current state. A surge of defiance courses through him. He glares upwards, vehemently denying any satisfaction with his suffering. Blue energy crackles around his neck as he grits his teeth, a new resolve hardening his expression. The quest window looms, and Hiroto, amidst the carnage, finally turns to face its challenge. He notes his wounds have mended, a fresh start offered by the system's strange mercies. With blood still on him, he gazes at the glowing quest, a flicker of resolve in his eyes. His expression hardens. He understands that stagnation means a bleak future. Fueled by a desperate desire, Hiroto declares his intent to brave the higher-rank dungeon. The system acknowledges his choice. The quest to challenge the advanced dungeon is officially accepted. A new system message flashes. The transfer to his next trial is about to begin. Bright blue digital particles envelop Hiroto, signaling his imminent departure. The azure light intensifies, whisking him away from the wolf-strewn battlefield. The scene shifts abruptly to a quiet building under the night sky, a stark contrast to the dungeon's chaos. From the chaos of the dungeon, the scene shifts to a dimly lit room, a door ajar, spilling light from within. Inside, a group of individuals are gathered, surrounded by bottles, deep in conversation and drink. One of them, holding a glass, pauses thoughtfully before continuing their point. The long-haired figure acknowledges the known dangers of dungeons, even as they relax. Another companion, with a more intense look, admits the news they're discussing is still quite startling. The conversation turns to the sheer improbability of meeting one's end in the beginner's dungeon. Their somber mood breaks as the group bursts into derisive laughter at the thought. They mockingly question the level of incompetence required for such a fate, highlighting the dungeon's supposed safety. Wiping a tear from his eye, one of them attempts to steer the conversation back to a more serious note. He then expresses a surprising sentiment of pity, finding the situation genuinely regrettable, much to another's confusion. One companion, drink in hand, observes that even the tough Murabayashi seems surprised by someone's death. Murabayashi sharply refutes the idea, a glint in his eye as he holds his glass. He takes a drink, announcing an upcoming mock battle under the scrutiny of a hunter training school inspector. An intense-looking member of the group interjects, noting the deceased small fry should have been among them. Murabayashi confesses he intended to make that very small fry his opponent, feigning disappointment. A close-up reveals Murabayashi's lips curling into a smug, almost cruel smirk. He dramatically laments losing his chance to be the best by defeating him, causing the group to roar with laughter. Their derisive laughter fills the room, oblivious to a brightly lit phone screen on the table. The phone displays a Demon King application, its ominous red glow hinting at dark connections. The application reveals Murabayashi Takaki's status, a shockingly low level 5 with abysmal strength and agility. Hiroto, battered and bruised, recalls the countless times he's faced oblivion, shadowed by unseen threats. A brutal flashback shows a monstrous wolf sinking its teeth into him, a testament to his past torments. He remembers retaliating, his blade finding its mark against a fallen beast amidst a spray of red. Blue digital fragments drift from his arm, a visual cue to the system's constant intervention in his fate. His status log scrolls endlessly with Life Linker activated, proof of his many revivals and a hard-earned level up. He stands before a colossal insectoid horror in the deepest chamber of the high-ranked dungeon, ready for the ultimate test. The grim cycle of defeat and rebirth plays out once more as the monstrous creature lands a devastating blow. Bathed in an ominous red glow and crackling blue energy, Hiroto stands victorious over the fallen beast, the ordeal finally over. Clean and unscathed, Hiroto gazes towards a beckoning light, a quiet sense of accomplishment on his face. A triumphant clear message flashes, confirming his success and granting him the Mana Awakening skill as a reward. Hiroto's status screen proudly displays his new title, Giant Killer, and a respectable level 15. The system issues a return command, as blue energy crackles around Hiroto, ready to whisk him back to his home world. He reflects on his journey, realizing he's unknowingly surpassed the typical student-hunter level. The scene transitions to a peaceful cityscape, bathed in the warm glow of a setting or rising sun. Back in what appears to be a school setting, a student eagerly asks his companion if he's heard the latest news. The long-haired companion confirms he has, specifically mentioning it concerns Hiroto. They both express incredulous relief, finding it hard to believe Hiroto could return alive from his predicament. The two students share a laugh, acknowledging what a close call it must have been for Hiroto. One student comments on their upcoming public mock battle, suggesting it might be less eventful now, while the other smirks deviously. They muse that without Hiroto's unpredictable presence, their planned shows will certainly be different. A bespectacled student peeks in, hinting at some juicy, unheard news for the duo. The pair turns, their expressions a mix of curiosity and slight apprehension at the interruption. The nervous messenger reveals a critical new rule for the mock battle. One attempt only. Their faces contort in utter shock, the implications of this single-chance rule hitting hard. The scene shifts to Hiroto, resting in a sun-drenched room as he begins to recall that day. He remembers his consciousness fading after the high-rank dungeon, only to be found later collapsed near the orphanage. Sitting up, Hiroto considers the simplest explanation for his ordeal. It was all just a dream. Yet, a steely glint in his eyes, he points towards a device on his desk, a silent however hanging in the air. The phone screen illuminates, the ominous Demon King application initiating its loading sequence. Hiroto, bathed in the glow of his holographic status, ponders the two stark possibilities that lie before him. Hiroto stares at his phone, his impressive level 15 giant killer status, a stark contrast to his humble surroundings. He then flips to his rank F skill list, questioning if his mind is playing tricks or if this unbelievable power is genuine. Lying back, he considers the profound implication. This insane reality might just be true. A newfound resolve flickers in Hiroto's eyes as he's interrupted by a figure at his door. An older, long-haired man with an unnervingly familiar smirk casually requests a moment of Hiroto's time. They stand in a cluttered storage room, the older man clearly having sought Hiroto out. The man clasps his hands, a look of dawning realization, or perhaps feigned understanding on his face. With a theatrical flourish, he then declares he'll leave it to Hiroto to request him as an opponent for the mock battle. Hiroto appears momentarily stunned by this unexpected and rather bold proposition. He reflexively considers extending his hand, perhaps to seal this strange new pact. The older man smirks, confidently informing Hiroto that any other mock battle plans are now off the table. Their hands meet in a surprisingly firm handshake, sealing this unexpected challenge. Leaning in with a menacing grin, the man vows to inflict a memorable experience upon Hiroto. Hiroto, however, stares back with an expression of mild bewilderment, not a hint of fear. The handshake continues, Hiroto appearing unfazed by the older man's attempt at intimidation. The man internally seethes, baffled by Hiroto's calm demeanor despite the crushing force of his grip. Hiroto coolly attributes his lack of reaction to his newly acquired pain tolerance skill. He recalls a time when this man's very presence would have frozen him with terror. A flashback to fearsome, silver-fanged beasts puts his current adversary into perspective. The older man, now looking slightly less confident, stands before the storage shelves, perhaps sensing a change in Hiroto. Hiroto, with newfound confidence, coolly assesses his opponent as insignificant. The older man, infuriated by Hiroto's demeanor, throws a furious punch. Hiroto watches the incoming fist with an unnervingly calm expression. His mind processes the attack at lightning speed, a surge of power evident. To Hiroto's enhanced senses, the man's desperate lunge appears comically slow. As the older man commits to his attack, Hiroto calmly considers his counter. With a subtle shift, Hiroto easily evades the telegraphed blow. Hiroto then unleashes a swift, precise counterattack, his fist a blur. The older man reels back, his face a mask of disbelief and pain from the unexpected impact. Utterly stunned, the man is sent sprawling, completely overwhelmed by Hiroto's sudden power. Hiroto's eyes blaze with an intense crimson light, his fist still ready for action. The fiery glow in his eyes softens slightly, but his determined gaze remains locked on his fallen opponent. From the older man's perspective on the floor, Hiroto stands there, an unexpectedly formidable figure. The older man, clutching his bleeding nose, internally dismisses Hiroto as surprisingly feeble despite the hit. Hiroto then considers his own giant killer status, realizing it's not his opponent's weakness, but his own overwhelming strength. A bead of sweat forms as Hiroto himself grapples with the sheer disparity in their power levels. The older man, incensed, yanks Hiroto forward by his shirt, demanding answers. His face contorted with rage and disbelief, the man furiously questions Hiroto's sudden display of power. He bellows that it's utterly impossible for someone of Hiroto's supposed caliber to have struck him down. The man, now sweating and desperate, accuses Hiroto of using a dirty trick, demanding he reveal it. The older man continues his tirade, unable to comprehend Hiroto's supposed low rank. Hiroto clenches his fist, a silent acknowledgement of the power he now holds to settle old scores. His hand slowly relaxes, a conscious decision to choose a different path. Hiroto internally reasons that stooping to his opponent's level would make him no better. He calmly suggests they end the confrontation, much to the older man's bewildered surprise. The older man, still reeling and bleeding, furiously objects to Hiroto's sudden call for peace. Hiroto takes control, his hand firmly grasping the older man's wrist. The sheer strength in Hiroto's grip is evident, a bead of sweat forming on the older man's arm. With unwavering resolve, Hiroto declares that de-escalation is in everyone's best interest. He then decisively shoves the older man back, creating distance between them. Hiroto turns his back, ready to exit, leaving the older man fuming on the storage room floor. The older man, still reeling, furiously yells after Hiroto, demanding he stop. Hiroto pauses, calmly stating his intention to no longer engage with the man. The older man's glare intensifies as Hiroto voices his expectation of mutual disengagement. With a resolute gaze, Hiroto firmly requests that the older man also refrain from bothering him. The older man is left speechless, his face a mixture of disbelief, pain, and utter humiliation. Alone in the dim storage room, the older man seethes, defeated and enraged. Unable to contain his fury, he violently kicks a nearby box, venting his frustration. Back in the quiet of his own room, Hiroto calmly places a box onto his desk. He then prepares a device, seemingly for a regular once-a-week procedure on his arm. The narrative explains that hunters undergo regular blood tests to monitor their health and condition. A medical staff member hurries Hiroto along, disdainfully noting his F-rank status as he apologetically complies. As Hiroto leaves the testing area, a sudden intense close-up reveals his dawning apprehension. A bead of sweat appears as Hiroto's heart pounds with a sudden dreadful realization. He understands with a jolt that this routine check will expose his dramatically altered stats and skills. A profound sense of unease washes over Hiroto as he anticipates the consequences of this discovery. Elsewhere, the older man sits with others, his face still showing the marks of his recent defeat. The man violently dismisses a younger attendant, convinced Hiroto employed some trickery. He seethes, unable to accept that someone of Hiroto's supposed weakness could have bested him fairly. The attendant, a bespectacled young man, cautiously attempts to pacify the still fuming older man. The older man, sweating and suspicious, wonders if Hiroto used a rare dungeon item. The attendant dismisses this, noting the beginner dungeon's lack of valuable drops and questioning Hiroto's motives. Still baffled, the older man demands an explanation for his defeat and Hiroto's unscathed return as another listens intently. A burly associate declares they must teach Hiroto a lesson, proposing a mock battle to ensure his defeat. The older man, aghast, accuses his associate of trying to usurp his opportunity for vengeance. The burly man retorts, placing the blame squarely on the older man for initiating the confrontation. He then mentions the pre-battle body check, a surefire way to uncover any hidden advantages. With a sinister grin, the associate asserts that no trickery will save Hiroto during the official bout. He condescendingly refers to Hiroto as insignificant, yet implies a need to make an example of him. The burly man then offers a twisted form of comfort, suggesting they can both have their turn with Hiroto after the mock battle. The burly man grins, anticipating the fun they'll have with Hiroto, as the others share his malicious excitement. Night falls over the imposing Hunter Support Center, a beacon of modern architecture against the starry sky. Inside a brightly lit lab, a bespectacled technician diligently processes hunter data, a routine task. Suddenly, a blood sample, presumably Hiroto's, causes an unexpected and alarming reaction during analysis. The technician jolts upright, his eyes wide with disbelief at the anomalous readings on his monitor. Hiroto's profile flashes on screen, riddled with error messages and displaying stats far exceeding any F rank. Utterly baffled, the technician stares at the impossible data, struggling to comprehend what he's seeing. A sharp-eyed female colleague notices his colleague's distress and approaches, sensing something is amiss. The male technician points to the screen, explaining that this Ijima hasn't even attended hunter training school yet. A close-up reveals Hiroto's astonishing level 15 stats, a clear system error for an untrained individual. The female colleague leans in, equally shocked by the data anomaly her coworker has discovered. He explains the screen shows someone caught in a dungeon paradox during training, hence the bizarre stats. A pristine white box labeled After Event Reports sits ready for new filings. The male technician glances at the report box, contemplating the implications of Hiroto's case. His colleague wonders aloud how to report such a drastic jump from level 1 to 15, even considering the director. She then dismisses the urgency, arguing that since it happened pre-training, there's no official obligation to report it. The male technician listens, a bead of sweat forming as he processes her pragmatic yet dismissive stance. His colleague coolly reiterates that the dungeon paradox is known for its unpredictable and strange occurrences. She further justifies inaction, stating Hiroto's F-rank aptitude means he won't grow much, thus sparing them tedious paperwork. But the male technician can't shake his unease, emphasizing that Hiroto was merely level 1 just moments ago. The female technician questions her colleague's concern, appealing to a twisted sense of logic. She recalls the cataclysmic arrival of monsters that irrevocably altered their world. Pointing to the screen, she suggests that the very foundation of their understanding is now being challenged. With a steely gaze, she asserts that dungeons and hunters alike are inherently chaotic and defy simple explanation. The monitor continues to display Hiroto's impossible level 15 status, a glaring anomaly. A detailed breakdown reveals Hiroto's giant killer title and astonishingly high stats for an F rank, including level 9 guts and mana awakener. Meanwhile, an oblivious Hiroto stands in line at the Hunter Support Center cafeteria, ready for a meal. The cafeteria buzzes as onlookers murmur, astonished by Hiroto's presence and seemingly changed demeanor. Hiroto devours his food with an almost primal hunger, completely focused on his meal. He then astonishes the cafeteria staff by requesting yet another serving, his appetite seemingly insatiable. A woman approaches Hiroto, holding a teacup and remarking on his impressive eating aptitude. She introduces herself with a smile, a bespectacled woman in a lab coat apologizing for intruding on his meal. Hiroto, still focused on his food, internally acknowledges his unusually ravenous hunger. As he questions his sudden gluttony, the woman notes she hasn't seen him at the facility before and inquires about him. She reveals her identity as a chief instructor from the prestigious Artemis Hunter Training School, causing a stir among nearby onlookers. The instructor explains she's scouting for promising talents for the mock battles and playfully feigns offense that he doesn't recognize her. With a knowing, almost predatory glint in her eyes, she confidently asserts that she, of course, remembers him. A faint memory surfaces for Hiroto. This instructor was indeed present during a past mock battle involving someone named Yuzuki. The instructor elaborates on the fierce competition between hunter schools, emphasizing the need to snatch up talent before rivals do. She then shifts her focus, observing that while she sees him annually, something about his current demeanor seems markedly different. Hiroto remains silent, his orange eyes reflecting a pensive mood as the instructor observes him. He internally denies any significant change, though his expression is unreadable. The instructor probes, asking if he was caught in the dungeon accident, and if surviving it awakened some new power. She attributes her keen eye to years of scouting and a sharp woman's intuition, inviting him for a private discussion. With unwavering confidence, she claims her intuition has been flawless for years, while Hiroto considers her offer. Hiroto recognizes her as an instructor from Yuzuki's school, realizing his secret might not stay hidden for long. He agrees to a brief conversation, much to the instructor's evident delight. Hiroto then casually mentions his F-rank aptitude, a detail that visibly startles the perceptive instructor. Her eyes widen in disbelief, the F-rank revelation clearly clashing with her initial assessment. Flustered, the instructor apologizes, humorously suggesting her famed intuition might be failing her for once. Hiroto calmly brushes off her shock, noting that his F-rank usually elicits such surprise. The instructor, regaining her composure, patronizingly remarks on the tough life he must lead as a low ranker. She then offers him her contact information, a seemingly kind gesture to help him if anything happens. Hiroto internally categorizes the strong's behavior towards the weak. Either they exploit or offer condescending pity. He sizes up the instructor, placing her firmly in the pitying category with her offer. His thoughts drift, comparing her seemingly benevolent attitude to Yuzuki's own brand of kindness. The scene dramatically shifts to the expansive city's hunter battle arena, rumored to also be a military testing ground. Within this formidable arena, constructed with dungeon-sourced materials, the mock battles are set to unfold. Hiroto strides past rows of other participants, all waiting their turn in the stark, concrete holding area. Suddenly, a group of menacing figures, including the burly man from before, fix their predatory gazes on Hiroto. The Artemis instructor, ever watchful, observes the arena proceedings from the stands with a critical eye. The vast battle arena buzzes with anticipation, the central stage primed for the upcoming mock battles. On the stage, Hiroto faces the burly man, who wastes no time in declaring his hostile intentions. The burly man's eyes gleam with a sinister red light, his expression promising a brutal confrontation. Now clad in armor, the aggressor announces he'll unleash his full power, hinting at a potentially lethal outcome. Hiroto, wooden sword in hand, remains stoic against the backdrop of the crowded arena, his composure unshaken. With a look of pure malice, the burly man chillingly predicts Hiroto's demise in the upcoming fight. He cruelly reminds Hiroto that accidents are common in these battles, and Yuzuki isn't around to intervene this time. The bully continues his taunts, emphasizing Yuzuki's absence and Hiroto's supposed vulnerability. With a deranged grin, he ominously suggests Hiroto will be the second casualty from their former association. The bully cruelly suggests Hiroto will soon join a departed friend, a memory of a smiling boy flashing by. Hiroto's usually calm orange eyes flicker with a dangerous intensity. A silent challenge forms in Hiroto's mind. Perhaps it's time for both of them to fight without restraint. The burly man makes a dramatic leap from the stands, landing heavily in the arena. He declares to Hiroto that there's a specific reason he's taking this particular opponent seriously. Towering over Hiroto, the armored bully brandishes his weapon, ready for a confrontation. The bully reveals his motive. A strong showing against Hiroto will impress the scouts and advance his career. In a surprising move, the bully lets his wooden practice sword clatter to the ground. He then turns his back on Hiroto, gazing up towards the bright arena sky, unarmed. Hiroto, still holding his weapon, watches this unexpected display with a questioning look. The bully sneers, claiming a simple sword victory over an F rank wouldn't be impressive enough for the scouts. He declares his intention to use magic as fiery energy suddenly erupts around his form. With a twisted grin, the bully boasts of his magical aptitude, despite being a frontline fighter, his power flaring. He smugly points out the rarity of magic fighters, confident this display will catch the scouts' eyes. Hiroto, clutching his wooden sword, processes the shocking revelation of his opponent's hidden abilities. A chilling realization dawns on Hiroto. This bully concealed his magic in the dungeon, abandoning him. Resolute, Hiroto lets his own wooden sword fall, preparing for a different kind of fight. Hiroto calmly announces he too will use magic, a subtle energy beginning to emanate from his outstretched hand. The bully erupts in derisive laughter, belittling any magic an F rank might possess compared to his own blazing power. Beneath Hiroto's feet, a dark, swirling energy laced with crackling red sparks begins to manifest on the arena floor. Hiroto's eyes gleam with newfound power, revealing the source of his strength, the high-rank dungeon. A system notification declares the activation of his level 9 awakened mana skill, engulfing him in vibrant energy. The arena floor trembles as an immense pillar of dark, crackling energy erupts around Hiroto. Within the maelstrom, Hiroto's silhouette glows ominously as a potent sphere of energy condenses before him. Spectators gape, one audibly questioning how an F rank could possibly wield such magical aptitude. His companion scoffs, asserting that even seasoned mages rarely display such overwhelming power. The bully stares, his own fiery display paling in comparison to the spectacle unfolding before him, pure shock on his face. Utterly disbelieving, the bully accuses Hiroto of an impossible bluff, his confidence shattered. In a desperate, enraged move, the bully unleashes a torrent of fire, aiming to incinerate his opponent. The bully's fiery projectile speeds towards Hiroto, who remains a calm epicenter within his colossal dark aura. A system notification heralds Hiroto's automatic magic activation, fire attribute, Hellfire, Evil Flare. An immense, violent sphere of red and purple energy, the Evil Flare, detonates from Hiroto's position. The bully stares, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated terror at the overwhelming power. The shockwave of Hiroto's attack rips through the arena, forcing the bully to cower. Engulfed in dark smoke and crackling energy, the bully can only brace for impact, utterly defeated. The arena crowd erupts, their cheers and raised fists signaling their awe at the incredible spectacle. Even the Artemis instructor, mid-call, pauses, her expression shifting to one of keen interest at the display. She stands, captivated, trying to gauge the tier of Hiroto's astonishing magical output. The instructor draws a parallel between Yuzuki's past brilliance and Hiroto's current shocking emergence. Convinced she's found another prodigious talent, the instructor departs, acknowledging this year's big rookie. Post-battle, Hiroto's memory of unleashing the evil flame feels like a distant, hazy dream. He reflects on a past resolution, the day he decided to follow Yuzuki to the same school. Adding to the turn of events, a significant advance payment had also been credited to his account. A single, intense eye contemplates the gravity of recent events, wondering if this marks a true turning point. Abstract lights flicker in the darkness, symbolizing the profound, life-altering question on his mind. Hiroto is suddenly transported to a serene, ethereal realm, floating amidst brilliant, cleansing light. His attention is drawn downwards towards a figure ensnared in chains within a turbulent crimson abyss. The captive is revealed, a purple-haired individual heavily bound, a stark image of suffering. A vast cosmic divide separates Hiroto from the chained figure, a tableau of opposing energies. Hiroto's eye widens in shock, a silent, urgent question forming about this mysterious, tormented entity. The chained figure's fiery red eye glares as Hiroto's mind struggles to identify this tormented soul. Suddenly, Hiroto jolts awake in his bed, the ethereal vision fading as he instinctively reaches for his phone. His orange eye widens, reflecting an alarming notification glowing on the device's screen. He sits bolt upright, clutching his phone, a wave of disbelief washing over him at the message displayed. The screen blares critical information. His Demon Lordification is confirmed, and a Demon Lord Hunt event is imminent. A chilling red warning follows, a stark countdown. Time left until your death. 35 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Hiroto stares, aghast, his hand flying to his mouth as the terrifying implications of the countdown sink in. His phone screen confirms his identity, rank F, level 15, alongside the ominous ticking clock of his demise. The device in his hand begins to glitch, the dire warning flickering erratically on the unstable display. Confused and alarmed, Hiroto wonders why his phone is suddenly malfunctioning at such a critical moment. The phone screen glitches wildly, confirming his Demon Lordification and the imminent, corruptedly named D3MSN Lod Hexas CS. Hiroto stares, bewildered, as the very words on his phone screen seem to morph before his eyes. Overwhelmed, he slumps back onto his bed, the phone slipping from his grasp, the dire news too much to bear. Briefly dazed, Hiroto recalls the chilling mention of a demon lord and some kind of event from the flickering screen. He glances towards the window, a grim certainty dawning. This terrifying application is undeniably the source of his newfound power. With steely determination in his eyes, Hiroto decides that if this path leads to strength, he'll confront any challenge. He throws open the curtains, letting in the morning light, his resolve hardening to face whatever comes next. Just then, his discarded phone on the nightstand blazes back to life, demanding his attention once more. A new stark notification appears. Remove the Demon Lord app to avoid death or face a grim, internal organs rental contract. The Sinister app presents a terrifying ultimatum, forcing Hiroto to choose between his power and his life. A menacing vortex of dark energy swirls, hinting at the dire consequences of the app's ultimatum. A sinister, red-eyed figure with pointed ears smirks as another silhouette walks towards an ominous, glowing portal. His phone continues its chaotic glitching, the countdown timer relentlessly ticking alongside corrupted warnings about the contract. The garbled text on screen presents a distorted choice, the options themselves twisted and unclear. Hiroto stands by the window, phone in hand, the morning light doing little to dispel the gloom of his situation. He observes with mounting unease as the words on his phone screen shift and corrupt yet again. The scene transitions to a desolate, ruined cityscape, a stark reminder that dungeon monsters pose a constant threat if unchecked. Now in a car, Hiroto learns that neglecting dungeons leads to catastrophic events known as stampedes. An aerial view shows their vehicle navigating a broken highway, emphasizing the vast, misunderstood nature of these dungeons. As they drive towards a monster-overrun city, a voice expresses gratitude for the ride, revealing Hiroto isn't alone. Hiroto, riding shotgun, inquires if their destination is the infamous site of the total eclipse tragedy. His bespectacled driver confirms the grim history, noting the area was subdued a decade prior. As they speed along, Hiroto learns the government has since completely abandoned this zone. The car navigates streets teeming with shambling figures, the driver revealing only the undead now reside here. The driver corrects himself, stating with chilling precision that the undead are the sole inhabitants. Well, the undead, and as the rearview mirror shows Hiroto, those connected to the Artemis Hunter School. Hiroto, his fiery eyes reflecting the bleak surroundings, ponders the human origins of these undead creatures. An eerie visual depicts how intense mana surges during stampedes cause the dead to rise once more. Suddenly, an undead creature stumbles into their path, and Hiroto watches in wide-eyed shock as impact is imminent. The unfortunate undead is sent tumbling over the car, a stark welcome to this forsaken city. The car plows on, leaving the dispatched undead tumbling in its wake, a grim introduction to the city's dangers. Hiroto remains silent in the passenger seat, the grim reality of their surroundings sinking in. The driver explains this chemically contaminated zone became a Pandora's box, ripe for dangerous experimentation. Consequently, the entire city was officially abandoned by the government, left to rot. The driver grips the wheel, navigating the treacherous, undead-infested streets with practiced ease. He warns that the dungeon here is still active, threatening an even greater catastrophe if left unchecked. Their car approaches a colossal, glowing rift in a ruined structure, a dungeon entrance, and the driver tells Hiroto to brace himself. Lighting a cigarette, the driver remarks that Hiroto's current skill level is surprisingly comparable to a D-rank veteran. He muses that despite Hiroto's current power, the inherent limitations of aptitude still create a significant gap. Hiroto's fiery gaze meets the driver's, acknowledging the harsh truth of his F-rank aptitude, capped at level 25. The driver continues, emphasizing that even with boosted stats, Hiroto's F-rank means he shouldn't get his hopes up for the school. Suddenly, Hiroto yanks the driver from his seat, who reacts with startled indignation. The driver, now thoroughly intimidated, protests his innocence and aversion to any form of conflict. Pinned against the car, the driver desperately tries to reason with Hiroto, acknowledging his power but pointing out others share it. A subtle smirk plays on Hiroto's lips as he listens, a glint of something unreadable in his eyes. Hiroto internally scoffs, thinking it's unwise to get worked up over such insignificant matters. Now outside, Hiroto dangles the driver with one hand, his expression shifting to surprise as something new appears. With a sudden, powerful motion, Hiroto hurls the unfortunate driver towards an enormous, newly materialized beast. Both Hiroto and the terrified driver stare upwards, confronted by the colossal, glowing monstrosity. The creature is identified, a Wendigo, difficulty B, a monster of catastrophic proportions much to the driver's horror. With surprising agility, Hiroto scoops up the terrified driver, dashing away from the immediate threat. He finds temporary cover amidst the urban decay, the air thick with dust and the aftermath of destruction. Both Hiroto and the driver cautiously peer around a concrete slab, assessing the monstrous danger. The colossal Wendigo casually crushes their abandoned vehicle, a testament to its immense power. The driver, checking his phone, nervously proposes a waiting game, hoping the beast remains oblivious to their presence. A notification details school protocol. Students are due back by 4 p.m., and a witch of blazing flame is currently in the dungeon. As they hide, an image of the formidable witch of blazing flame, Yuzuki, appears, wielding a sword amidst swirling energies. Hiroto, with his fiery eyes, silently wonders if even students are equipped to face such a high-difficulty creature. The driver reassures him that this prestigious school boasts many individuals far exceeding veteran capabilities. Still shaken, the driver suggests a brief 5-minute wait, confident that the elite students will soon deal with the monstrous problem. Hiroto, with his piercing gaze, cuts to the chase, questioning the authenticity of the driver's holstered firearm. The driver, visibly uneasy, stands stiffly as Hiroto eyes the weapon strapped to his side. He nervously reminds Hiroto that standard firearms are utterly ineffective against these monstrous threats. Unfazed, Hiroto smoothly draws a sleek dagger, clearly having come prepared for more than a car ride. With surprising force, Hiroto pins the driver, demanding the man's weapon if he lacks the nerve to use it himself. The driver, now armed with Hiroto's dagger, questions Hiroto's sanity for even considering a confrontation. Hiroto, dagger in hand, corrects him. It's not a choice, it's a necessity. They must fight. As if on cue, the colossal Wendigo, radiating an icy aura, bursts through a nearby structure, its advance relentless. The driver can only stare, aghast and sweating, as the monstrous Wendigo closes the distance. Hiroto, gripping his dagger, grimly concludes their 5-minute grace period has just been violently revoked. The colossal Wendigo, wreathed in icy energy, glares down with malevolent red eyes, spotting its prey. This towering beast, a true blight upon the ruined cityscape, exudes an aura of pure, chilling power. Despite the overwhelming pressure emanating from the monster, Hiroto remains remarkably composed, his focus unwavering. The driver, clutching the dagger, erupts in panicked disbelief, questioning Hiroto's grasp on their dire reality. He frantically reminds Hiroto of the futility of ordinary weapons against such a catastrophic entity as they scramble for higher ground. Hiroto, dagger still in hand, coolly processes the driver's desperate yet accurate assessment of their foe. A subtle, knowing smirk plays on Hiroto's lips, hinting at a plan beyond the driver's comprehension. Now taking a brief respite, Hiroto calmly requests the driver's firearm, brushing off concerns about its conventional limitations. The driver explains that monsters, much like hunters, possess protective barriers, rendering standard attacks ineffective. He clarifies that only hunters with their unique abilities can penetrate these defenses and truly damage such creatures. Hiroto, unfazed by the lecture, simply demands the driver's firearm. From their hiding spot, the chilling blue aura of the Wendigo still looms ominously close. With an impatient glare and outstretched hand, Hiroto insists the driver hurry up. The driver, clearly flustered, starts to unholster his weapon under duress. Reluctantly, the driver hands over the gun, cautiously asking about Hiroto's intentions. Hiroto boldly declares he will act as bait, leaving the driver utterly aghast. When Hiroto inquires about hunter traits, the driver admits his limited knowledge as a mere student caretaker. Hiroto theorizes that these particular monsters might possess a sensitivity to the sound of guns or explosions. The driver recalls a rumor suggesting that monsters appearing in the city are indeed sensitive to gunfire. Hiroto concedes that guns are generally ineffective against high-rank threats like the Wendigo, but speculates a point-blank shot might still inflict some damage. The driver realizes these monsters have adapted, now recognizing armed humans as a significant threat. A sudden surge of the Wendigo's icy power makes the driver yelp, while Hiroto remains stoic. From above, the sheer scale of the Wendigo's chilling aura dwarfs the two humans cowering below. Hiroto, resolute, outlines his daring strategy: fire the gun and become the sole focus of the beast. With the firearm now in his possession, Hiroto elaborates that his objective is to lure the Wendigo away. The driver, though impressed by Hiroto's courage, grimly predicts the utter futility of such a reckless endeavor. He reminds Hiroto that his current stats make facing two B-rank behemoths an impossible feat. The driver further emphasizes that even a singular confrontation with the Wendigo spells certain doom for Hiroto. Defeated, the driver urges Hiroto to abandon him and flee, prioritizing the boy's survival. He argues that Hiroto, despite his F rank, is young and valuable, unlike a mere civilian caretaker. Hiroto, teeth gritted, bluntly states the driver's certain doom if he abandons him now. A stark declaration appears. Hiroto has reached his limit with this dire situation. He recalls the driver's earlier 5-minute survival plan, a stark contrast to a grim memory of past helplessness. The driver, aghast, pleads with Hiroto not to undervalue his own life as the boy prepares to act. As Hiroto sprints into the icy unknown, the driver desperately reaches out, powerless to stop him. Hiroto fires the gun skyward, the shot echoing like a thunderclap through the desolate ruins. The Wendigo and its equally monstrous companion instantly lock onto the sound, their malevolent red eyes flaring. With the gun still raised and dagger ready, Hiroto wears a look of grim satisfaction, his plan in motion. He bolts through the decaying city, the two colossal ice beasts thundering in hot pursuit. A confident smirk graces Hiroto's face as he glances back, already analyzing his monstrous pursuers. Hiroto, dagger gleaming, acknowledges this deadly pursuit as a high-stakes game of tag. One of the colossal ice beasts, its red eyes burning, peeks around a ruined structure, searching. The Wendigo's monstrous face fills the view, its glowing eyes locking onto its elusive quarry. Hiroto firmly grips his dagger, its blade now imbued with a faint ethereal glow. He launches himself upwards, bringing the dagger down in a powerful strike towards the Wendigo's head. After impact, Hiroto skillfully maneuvers, using the environment and the beast itself to his advantage. The enchanted blade slices deep into the Wendigo's cranium, a dark substance marking the hit. With a wild look of triumph, Hiroto declares the first of his monstrous pursuers dealt with. The scene transitions to a luminous, crystalline cave where 4 individuals stand assembled. A young woman with determined red eyes, identified as Yuzuki, gazes forward intently. A spearman in white armor praises Yuzuki's formidable fire magic during their current subjugation. A dark-haired magician in a pointed hat questions her own utility if Yuzuki's fire magic is already so impressive. Another party member highlights Yuzuki's exceptional sword skills, enough to make even veteran swordsmen hesitate, noting her talent is on a different level. Yuzuki, with unwavering focus, believes their student-only party can conquer even the deepest parts of this dungeon, with her leading the charge. The magician and spearman exchange uneasy glances, clearly taken aback by Yuzuki's bold assertion. Yuzuki offers a reassuring smile, confidently stating that hard work will ensure their success. The magician, still doubtful, implies that Yuzuki's genius might blind her to the true difficulty of their undertaking. The four students stand dwarfed by the immense, glowing, crystalline dungeon. As one points out, no student group has ever conquered such a place. Yuzuki, placing a hand on her chest, acknowledges the talent disparity, but firmly believes their combined efforts as students can overcome the challenge. The magician glares from beneath her hat, her teeth gritted in apparent frustration at Yuzuki's unwavering optimism. The magician scoffs, suggesting Yuzuki's S-rank talent means she doesn't understand true effort. A healer steps in, defending Yuzuki's unmatched work ethic at their school. He reveals her relentless dedication earned her the title, the Sleepless Witch. Indeed, Yuzuki is shown training tirelessly, from dawn's first light with her sword to late-night magic studies. The magician, hearing this, appears momentarily stunned into silence. The spearman then questions Yuzuki's intense drive for power, given her inherent safety. Yuzuki's expression turns somber, her gaze fixed with a deep underlying resolve. She quietly confesses a past of being bullied in an orphanage, her teammates listening intently. A flashback reveals a younger, terrified Yuzuki, who then mentions someone once protected her. The magician and healer express their surprise, finding it hard to picture Yuzuki as a victim or someone needing rescue. Yuzuki recalls discovering her S-rank aptitude during the tests. She then reveals her childhood protector was a mere F-rank, yet she was grateful for his intervention. Inspired by his bravery, Yuzuki resolved to become someone who protects others. The magician considers the courage it took for an F-rank boy to save a bullied girl. She then challenges Yuzuki, asking why she doesn't party with that brave boy instead of their B to A rank group. Yuzuki's face darkens, acknowledging that such a path is impossible for him. As they face a swirling dungeon portal, Yuzuki sadly reiterates he's an F rank after all. Suddenly, Yuzuki's eyes flare with shock as the portal violently activates. The spearman and magician are thrown into disarray by the unexpected surge from the portal. A lone figure desperately flees from a terrifying swarm of icy, red-eyed monsters, crying out for rescue. Hiroto takes a brief moment to admire his handiwork as the first ice titan dissolves before him. A quick mental checklist confirms the kill. 1 precise head stab, 1 monster permanently retired. But the celebration is cut short. Its equally monstrous companion now fixes its glowing red eyes squarely on Hiroto. The remaining colossal ice fiend charges with furious intent, clearly displeased with the fate of its comrade. His agility stat briefly flashing, Hiroto coolly assesses the incoming behemoth, confident in a one-on-one engagement. He deftly sidesteps a devastating slam, the ground erupting where he stood mere moments before. The enraged beast resorts to an aerial assault, launching itself high to deliver a crushing blow from above. Turning the tables, Hiroto audaciously leaps onto the descending monster's head, gaining a precarious advantage. He then gives the beast an uncomfortably close introduction to the barrel of his revolver. The scene flares with a dramatic crimson hue as Hiroto executes his point-blank attack from atop the stunned titan. The colossal ice fiend lets out a silent, agonizing cry as Hiroto maintains his precarious perch. Hiroto, with a steely gaze, clings to the titan's massive hand, weathering its desperate attempts to dislodge him. He coolly notes his previous shot merely grazed the beast, drawing only a trickle of its essence. Standing amidst an icy aura on the titan's head, Hiroto's resolve solidifies with a newfound certainty. A crimson mark confirms a deeper strike, reinforcing his conviction about the role of hunters. Hiroto glances down as the wounded titan falters, its red eyes dimming from his decisive attack. Just as one threat subsides, a fresh wave of ice fiends rises from the depths, much to Hiroto's surprise. Suddenly, Yuzuki bursts onto the scene, sword drawn, enveloped in a whirlwind of crackling blue energy. Her party members, the spearman assisting the healer while the magician looks on, appear in the chaotic background. Yuzuki stands poised over a fallen ice creature, calmly observing the unusually large swarm of monsters. The spearman, sensing trouble, voices his concern that something terrible might be unfolding. A stylish blue boot steps firmly beside the terrified student who was just fleeing for his life. Yuzuki, ever the hero, demands to know the direction the fleeing student used as bait had taken. The shaken student, still trembling, manages to point towards where the danger and Hiroto lies. With a flash of resolve, Yuzuki speeds off to rescue the student, ignoring his feeble attempt to stop her. Meanwhile, Hiroto sits utterly spent, surrounded by the remnants of the formidable ice fiends he just dispatched. He surveys the aftermath, a grim satisfaction on his face as he confirms his earlier assessment of the situation. Despite his exhaustion, a double level-up notification flashes, signaling his rapid growth. His status screen proudly displays Giant Killer Ijima Hiroto LV-17, showcasing significant boosts to his stats and skills. Against a dramatic sunset, Hiroto reflects on the draining battle, acknowledging the heavy toll of his relentless efforts. Hiroto, weary from his monumental effort, decides it's time to locate his car. He walks towards the city silhouette, the sky ablaze with the colors of dusk. A defeated ice fiend lies still, its monstrous form slowly returning to nothingness. The creature's essence pools into an ominous dark liquid upon the fractured ground. Another vanquished beast's chilling, empty gaze serves as a stark reminder of the battle. Yet the city's rooftops reveal a new wave of ice fiends, their vigil casting long shadows. Suddenly, a brilliant blue energy tears open the sky as more monsters gather below its light. Under the full moon, a different battle unfolds, with a lone figure fiercely combating shadowy tendrils and towering fiends. Hiroto then spots his vehicle, comically airborne and marked for death, his daily necessities gone with it. A device in his possession reveals a stark reality, a timer rapidly approaching its final 12 hours. Yuzuki dashes across an empty overpass, a blur of motion against the distant city. She vividly recalls the student's fearful gesture, her determination solidifying as she heads towards the indicated danger. Her eyes blaze with an intense blue light, a clear sign she's activating a powerful skill. The system announces Enemy Detection LV-9 activated as Yuzuki scans a suspicious building complex ahead. A mental map overlays her vision, highlighting a direct path to her target, marked with an ominous red dot. Her enhanced speed is evident, a privilege reserved for hunters possessing exceptional aptitude. The advanced map display, visible only to S-rank hunters like her, guides her unerringly through the urban maze. This intuitive guidance system feels almost divine, like receiving direct messages from a higher power. She navigates this surreal world of monsters, dungeons, and sudden game-like notifications with grim purpose. With her detection skill active, a cynical thought crosses her mind about the cruel absurdity of their situation. Yuzuki recalls a past where she was powerless, acknowledging the world's inherent unfairness. A younger Yuzuki once dreamed of a hero who would valiantly dispel all injustice. Now she understands that relying on others is no longer an option for her. She remembers a boy, a hero in her eyes, who ultimately couldn't protect anyone. The relentless unfairness of this world continues, as monstrous threats loom large. Yuzuki accepts her gifted power, stepping up to fight where her former hero could not. With fiery determination, she vows that the weak will not weep under her watch. She makes a dynamic landing, spotting a solitary figure standing amidst the city's ruins. Her eyes widen in disbelief as she recognizes the unexpected individual. Yuzuki stands momentarily speechless, finding Hiroto in the aftermath of the chaos. Hiroto, still catching his breath, stares back as Yuzuki processes the unexpected reunion. The scene shifts to Yuzuki's party offering Hiroto a ride, their own vehicle a casualty of the earlier chaos. Inside the cramped car, Yuzuki and her companions, along with a weary Hiroto, make their way through the desolate landscape. Hiroto, unceremoniously stuffed into the back, endures the bumpy ride with a distinct lack of enthusiasm for his seating arrangement. Yuzuki's spearman smirks, remarking on the surprising connection between their leader and the brave bait. He continues his analysis, acknowledging Hiroto's pre-enrollment power rivaled that of seasoned D-rank hunters. The spearman speculates on Hiroto's potential, prompting a question from the magician about recruiting him. With a dismissive air, the spearman clarifies that only Hiroto's initial stats were impressive, not his long-term prospects. The spearman delivers the critical blow. Hiroto's hunter aptitude is a mere F rank, capping his potential at level 25. The party's magician expresses her disappointment at his F-rank status, while Hiroto nonchalantly enjoys a snack. The magician calls out the spearman's harshness, questioning if he judges men solely by their hunter aptitude. She concedes that potential through training is a different story, while Hiroto, unfazed, continues his snack. Sipping her juice, the magician muses that a weaker partner is difficult, but one with no prospects is simply unacceptable. Hiroto, munching away, silently observes their F-rank prejudice, though someone off-panel notes his good looks. The spearman, turning from the front passenger seat, directly quizzes Yuzuki about her relationship with the new student. Yuzuki, her gaze intense and unwavering, declares that Hiroto is someone precious to her. The spearman processes her special person comment, while Hiroto, now with a juice box, listens intently. Yuzuki, focused on driving, reveals they were like siblings in the past and he once shielded her from bullies. The spearman, with a condescending smirk, dismisses Hiroto as a small fry who can no longer offer her protection. Yuzuki, her expression resolute, agrees, stating that's exactly why she must be the one to protect him now. Yuzuki, ever protective, offers to personally guide Hiroto through dungeon training. Hiroto, his expression unreadable, quietly considers her unexpected proposal. The spearman interjects, accusing Yuzuki of blurring the lines between her duties and personal attachments. He reminds her of her elite obligations, implying Hiroto is a mere distraction from her true purpose. Yuzuki delivers a firm, unequivocal rejection of the spearman's assessment. She then reveals the depth of her connection to Hiroto, stating he's the only family she has. The car finally arrives at a grand, illuminated building under a vast, starry expanse, Hiroto visible in the back. As they step out, Hiroto gathers his bags, the academy grounds now their immediate surroundings. The spearman, however, singles out Hiroto, summoning the newbie to the student council room. A sly smirk plays on the spearman's lips as he announces he has something important to discuss with Hiroto. The scene cuts to a grim flashback. Grotesque figures watch two individuals walk towards a blinding light in a ravaged city. Suddenly, one of the monstrous beings recoils as ominous purple energy erupts from the ground. The strange creatures are caught off guard as the violet power expands, creating a massive, unsettling aura. A complex glowing sigil materializes, pulsing with the same dark purple energy, hinting at a powerful spell. The monstrous figures are visibly distressed, some disintegrating as the arcane energy intensifies around them. All that remains of the creatures are crimson remnants scattered across the ground, a testament to the spell's might. Red X's mark the fallen foes, while a lone figure stands defiantly amidst the lingering purple haze. Above the desolate cityscape, two shadowy projectiles streak across the twilight sky, heralding a new threat. These airborne entities then morph into menacing, tendril-like forms, with strange symbols appearing within their dark mass. A sinister orb of condensed dark energy forms, followed by a shadowy hand emerging from the strange substance, dripping with unknown power. A monstrous, bull-like figure is ensnared and overwhelmed by a swirling vortex of dark purple energy. Another beastly creature makes a ground-shattering landing, its eyes glowing ominously under the full moon. A relentless stampede of these monstrous bovines charges through the desolate, ruined cityscape. Three of the brutes cautiously approach a volatile, swirling blue portal amidst the urban decay. A cataclysmic explosion of crimson energy erupts, laced with dark, crackling tendrils, signifying immense power. The narrative returns to the present, focusing on the Grand Academy building under a tranquil, starry night sky. Inside, the stark, expansive combat training room of Artemis Hunter Training School awaits its occupants. Hiroto, Yuzuki, and her companions stand assembled, an off-panel voice noting the unusual first-day mock battle. The spearman, with a self-important glint in his eye, declares his intent to impart a harsh lesson to the newbie. Hiroto eyes the spearman warily, sensing this traditional lesson is far more personal than proclaimed. Yuzuki and Hiroto stand together, their expressions serious as they face the upcoming confrontation. The spearman lectures from below, highlighting Hiroto's F-rank aptitude despite his D-rank combat prowess, deeming his solo Wendigo fight reckless. With a condescending gaze, the spearman resolves to teach Hiroto his place, framing it as a necessary lesson for the newbie's own benefit. The party's magician, with a subtle smirk, announces her intention to sit this particular lesson out. She elaborates, stating she's indifferent to any hazing, having endured similar traditions, which she now considers merely traumatic. The magician, a glint in her eye, pivots the conversation with a pointed remark. She casually inquires if their esteemed leader, Yuzuki, also experienced such rough welcomes in her early days. Yuzuki, her demeanor firm, asserts that back then, no one in the disciplinary committee could match her strength. After a quick word, the magician distances herself, openly expressing her disdain for the spearman's methods as they approach an elevator. The spearman, selecting a practice weapon, confidently states that Yuzuki and Hiroto alone will suffice for his demonstration. The spearman smirks, suggesting that without witnesses his actions might be misconstrued. He then discards his practice spear, telling Yuzuki and Hiroto to prepare themselves. Brandishing a practice knife, the spearman warns Hiroto to expect some pain, all for his benefit. Yuzuki and Hiroto exchange silent, unimpressed glances at the spearman's theatrics. Yuzuki, her eyes blazing, firmly states her disapproval of this so-called mock battle. The spearman justifies his actions, claiming as disciplinary president he can't let Hiroto endanger others. Yuzuki rebukes him, calling hazing a terrible tradition and insisting on better training methods, not outdated rules. With a dismissive gesture, the spearman declares they operate under the rule of hunters. He further asserts his authority as disciplinary committee president, claiming full charge of the situation. Yuzuki fiercely counters, reminding him her roles as second-year rep and student council VP outrank his. Yuzuki, her authority now fully asserted, informs the spearman she's giving the orders. With an intense gaze and a powerful aura, she commands him to cease, declaring she won't tolerate bullying under her watch. The spearman remains defiant, knife in hand, as Yuzuki and Hiroto stand united against his intimidation tactics. He smirks, then contemptuously kicks his discarded practice spear towards the departing magician. The spearman saunters towards the elevator, calling out to the magician, leaving Hiroto to observe his retreat. Hiroto glances back at Yuzuki, a subtle, knowing smile playing on his lips. Yuzuki, her earlier fire dimming, offers Hiroto a quiet apology for the confrontation. She then reminds him that within these walls, one's hunter aptitude unfortunately dictates everything. As Yuzuki heads for the elevator, she wishes Hiroto luck, acknowledging the tough road ahead. Pausing, she advises him not to overexert himself, recognizing that everyone finds their own path, regardless of rank. Hiroto stands alone in the vast training room, the discarded spear a silent reminder of the recent confrontation. He glances back at the abandoned practice weapon, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. A flicker of realization sparks in Hiroto's eyes as he processes the spearman's petty exit. Left by himself, Hiroto dryly considers if cleanup duty now falls to him. Navigating the academy's corridors, Hiroto wonders if he's even heading towards the dorms. Just as he ponders his direction, the spearman's voice halts him, clearly not done with their discussion. The spearman reappears, smugly adjusting his glove, insisting Hiroto still requires his brand of guidance. Hiroto, with a weary sigh, turns to face him, anticipating the inevitable challenge. The spearman clarifies his intentions. Not a fight, but a one-sided lesson he's eager to deliver. Hiroto, unimpressed by the semantics, simply asks if they can get this over with. The spearman, with a condescending grin, confirms he's perfectly fine with proceeding. Before the spearman can react, Hiroto's hand swiftly lands on his shoulder with surprising force. The spearman's smugness vanishes, replaced by wide-eyed shock as Hiroto's unexpected move connects. Hiroto effortlessly forces the spearman into a bow, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the bully's previous arrogance. Leaving the spearman defeated on the hallway floor, Hiroto coolly walks away from the one-sided lesson. The narrative shifts to a flashback, introducing a newborn named Ogaichi Kazuya, held by his parents. Baby Kazuya is depicted amidst a bed of roses, destined for greatness despite his common name. Young Kazuya's privileged upbringing is shown, born to elite hunter parents in a grand estate. Sheltered by his influential parents, Kazuya was raised in a perfectly safe and controlled environment. Kazuya's internal monologue reveals his driving ambition. His entire existence is dedicated to becoming someone special. Young Kazuya faces a towering bully, a dropped knife hinting at the confrontation's sharp edge. The brute shoves Kazuya, grossly underestimating the bespectacled boy. Kazuya, with startling force, sends his much larger aggressor sprawling. He calmly adjusts his glasses, a flicker of his true, formidable nature showing. The aftermath reveals Kazuya's power, a defeated bully, shattered surroundings, and astonished onlookers. A sinister smirk plays on Kazuya's lips, a defining moment of self-realization dawned upon him. His elite hunter aptitude made his enrollment in the prestigious academy, framed by cherry blossoms, an undeniable destiny. Even within the elite school's rigorous training, Kazuya effortlessly outclassed his numerous peers. A dazzling display of raw power sends his training partners reeling, cementing his dominance. Towering over his fallen classmates, Kazuya's conviction became absolute. He was divinely chosen for greatness. Kazuya recalls a pivotal moment, a first in his self-assured life. He encountered Yuzuki, recognizing her as someone possessing even greater talent than his own. Her S-rank aptitude undeniably surpassed his, a fact Kazuya couldn't ignore. In his mind, only Yuzuki could be his perfect partner, a destiny he felt was preordained. Kazuya became fixated, believing he absolutely had to make her his. He saw her as a special existence, just like himself, a divinely chosen match. The flashback abruptly ends, returning to Kazuya sprawled on the hallway floor, glasses askew. Utterly humiliated, Kazuya questions the unbelievable turn of events, his pride shattered. The scene transitions to a grand auditorium, packed with uniformed students facing a brightly lit stage. An official at a podium begins an announcement, apologizing for its abruptness, concerning the Artemis Hunter Training School's dungeon. The official gravely announces a terrifying development, signs of an impending dungeon stampede. A wave of unease and hushed whispers ripples through the assembled student body. He reminds them that the true nature of dungeons remains largely a dangerous mystery. With grim certainty, he reveals the dungeon's mana has reached critical levels, fueling a surge in monster activity. If unchecked, this mana surge will trigger a catastrophic rampage, and he declares there's only one solution. The official clenches his fist, his expression hardening with grim resolve for the task ahead. Their only option is to confront the monsters directly and reduce the mana concentration to safe levels. He emphasizes the urgency, stating they cannot afford to wait for outside reinforcements. Students react with disbelief as the implication sinks in. They are being mobilized, a clause in their contracts. The crowd buzzes with questions, some recalling this drastic measure is reserved for dire emergencies. A student voices the collective thought, questioning if this truly qualifies as an emergency. The official on stage acknowledges their unease, but attempts to placate the massive crowd. He assures them of the staff's capability, reminding everyone that the instructors were once top-tier hunters. The plan unfolds. Instructors and advanced students, including Kazuya and Yuzuki, will tackle the deeper threats. The remaining students are ordered to gear up, meet their instructors, and strictly follow commands. Elsewhere, Hiroto internally remarks on the sheer chaos erupting on his very first day. A female instructor approaches Hiroto, offering an apology and musing on his unfortunate timing. She then drops a bombshell. Hiroto was supposed to be a top-tier enrollee, destined for the elite first-year class. The instructor clarifies he should have been part of a class, standing with the other prodigies, much to Hiroto's surprise. Whispers spread among other students, questioning an F-rank's place in A class, though some recall rumors of his unusually high stats. Students murmur, baffled by an F-ranker with no growth potential supposedly joining the elite A class. The whispers continue, emphasizing that an F-rank's level cap means nothing in a school where aptitude is paramount. Hiroto stands silently, absorbing the surrounding doubt and the weight of these revelations. The instructor, observing Hiroto's reaction, seems intrigued by this unusual student. Suddenly, the renowned Yuzuki Kuju appears, commanding the attention of the nearby students. Yuzuki directly addresses Hiroto, requesting a private conversation with an air of importance. From the sidelines, a seething Kazuya watches Yuzuki single out Hiroto, his jealousy flaring. As they walk outside, Yuzuki shares a startling premonition. She believes a dungeon stampede is imminent. She clarifies this isn't based on evidence, but rather a strong gut feeling, a sixth sense. Yuzuki confidently suggests her S-rank aptitude might be the source of this uncanny intuition. Hiroto mulls over Yuzuki's claim of intuition, wondering if that's truly all there is to her premonition. Yuzuki outlines the strategy. Elite students will handle the dungeon's depths, while others, Hiroto included, secure the entrance. Hiroto questions if the instructor's involvement means the regular students are truly safe from harm. Yuzuki acknowledges that relying solely on data is a natural, albeit limited way to assess the situation. With a steely gaze, Yuzuki implies there are things beyond his current comprehension, dismissing his need for further explanation. She then boldly declares that if a higher power exists, she considers herself one of its specially chosen individuals. Yuzuki firmly grasps Hiroto's hand, instructing him to find her immediately if anything unusual occurs, regardless of its apparent significance. She paints a grim picture. A full-blown stampede would throw everyone into a desperate, chaotic fight for survival. Yuzuki emphasizes that the location of their battle, be it the treacherous depths or the chaotic entrance, will not change the underlying danger. A chilling vision flashes. The specter of death, a reaper's scythe, looms over them all, threatening to claim anyone at any moment. Yuzuki, with unwavering resolve, promises Hiroto her absolute protection. Elsewhere, a trio of students contemplates ditching the dangerous mobilization, one questioning the extreme measures. Their apparent leader, Urabe, scoffs, reminding them expulsion is the price for cowardice. Another student grumbles about the lack of compensation for this high-risk, no-reward mission. Suddenly, an unseen figure makes their presence known, stepping into their anxious huddle. The delinquents look up, startled by the unexpected interruption to their scheming. It's Kazuya, a smug grin playing on his lips as he acknowledges their particular talents. Urabe greets Kazuya with a sly, knowing smirk, anticipating some entertainment. Kazuya's smile turns predatory as he reveals he has a few tasks requiring their unique skills. Back with Yuzuki, she stuns Hiroto, confessing a chilling desire to eliminate a certain individual. Yuzuki walks away, leaving Hiroto to ponder her chilling confession, while Kazuya lurks with a sinister expression. The students, each with their own hidden agendas, prepare to face the ominous, glowing dungeon entrance. This practical training is foretold to become a nightmarish descent into chaos. A grim narration reveals this event will escalate into one of the deadliest incidents in Hunter School history. Hiroto's phone suddenly displays a countdown. A Demon Lord Hunt event is about to begin. Rewind to an hour earlier, where students gathered before the pulsating dungeon rift, awaiting instructions. An instructor began to outline the plan, stating only experienced staff would venture into the dungeon's depths. He continued, adding that select students, with Yuzuki at their core, would join this elite deep dive team. Another instructor detailed that remaining students would secure the outer layers, handling weaker monsters under strict supervision. However, a shocking addendum. All A-class students, from first to third year, were ordered to accompany the main attack force into the deepest, most dangerous parts. The A-class students absorb the grim news. They're being sent into the dungeon's treacherous depths. An ominous red rift pulses as students mill about, the air thick with anticipation and dread. An instructor announces the dungeon entry is scheduled for high noon, as students gaze upwards. A hand shoots up. A brave student dares to question the high command's orders. A fiery, red-haired A-class student, spear in hand, voices her concern about venturing into the deepest, most perilous sections. She argues that while Yuzuki might manage, the monsters in the depths are far beyond the capabilities of other A-class students. The instructor clarifies their primary mission, not to conquer, but to provide crucial support to the main assault force. Their duties will include defending injured comrades during treatment, a vital but dangerous role. Additionally, they'll be responsible for dispatching any weaker stragglers that bypass the elite vanguard. The instructor attempts to reassure the crowd, stating that B-class and lower students will only handle the safer outer layers, minimizing overall risk. Hiroto recalls Yuzuki's ominous words, a sense of unease settling over him. He remembers her chilling premonition of a dungeon stampede, a truly dire prospect. Yuzuki had chalked it up to mere intuition, a sixth sense she possessed. A new worry surfaces. If her premonition is true, isn't Yuzuki herself in grave danger? The grim reality of potentially witnessing a comrade's demise weighs heavily on his mind. Yet, he also remembers Yuzuki's fierce vow to protect him, a promise that now feels even more significant. Despite the looming threat, Hiroto considers himself fortunate to be assigned to Yuzuki's group. His attention shifts to Ijima and Itu, the fiery spear wielder and her companion standing nearby. An instructor delivers surprising orders. Ijima and Itu are to accompany the attack team only to the middle layer, not engage in direct combat. Hiroto is visibly perplexed as the instructor clarifies their role. They're to stand guard in the shallower, secured layers. Ijima protests vehemently, questioning why A-class students like her are being sidelined. The instructor strides forward, confidently stating their current forces can handle the emergency. He declares that only those venturing into the deepest levels undergo true real-world training, despite Ijima and Itu's A-class status. The instructor, looking weary, explains that for this training, difficult choices must be made. He elaborates, stating they must be selective about which members to invest in for future strength. Ijima and Itu exchange a bewildered glance at the mention of investment. The instructor, with a dismissive gesture, recalls their disappointingly low hunter aptitude ranks. With a grim pronouncement against the backdrop of the ominous rift, he deems them both incompetent based on future prospects. Ijima stares in stunned disbelief, her pride clearly wounded by the instructor's harsh words. Meanwhile, a trio of goblin-like creatures, presumably weaker monsters, snarl menacingly. Those snarling goblins are immediately consumed by a sudden intense blast of fire. Student mages launch coordinated magical attacks, fireballs streaking through the cavern. A few students celebrate prematurely amidst falling embers, thinking the threat is over. An instructor urgently directs the students into formation as more creatures appear. Other students bravely clash with the goblin-like beasts, their weapons meeting tough hides. The cavern transforms into a chaotic melee, with students battling numerous foes across the uneven ground. A new wave featuring larger, more imposing horse-headed monsters advances on a pair of isolated students. Suddenly, several projectiles find their mark, felling the monstrous brutes with deadly precision. A mysterious cloaked figure stands amidst the fallen creatures, an arm raised after the swift takedown. The figure is revealed to be Kazuya, a confident, almost predatory grin on his face. Kazuya, with a manic grin, rallies his equally unhinged-looking cronies for a brawl. His squad leaps into the fray, a whirlwind of blades and reckless abandon against the remaining goblins. An instructor watches Kazuya's group, a flicker of understanding in his weary eyes. Another instructor smirks, noting Kazuya's crew boasts the lowest behavioral rank, F, yet undeniable power. The first instructor concedes their combat strength is undeniably A rank, despite their atrocious conduct. They muse that Kazuya's group, talent-wise, should have been scouted by elite hunter guilds. Kazuya and his boys stand victorious over a pile of vanquished foes, as an instructor laments such wasted potential. Kazuya saunters over to the instructors, his boots crunching on the cavern floor. He casually addresses an instructor as sensei, only to be curtly told to use instructor. Kazuya, ever the charmer, brushes off the correction, declaring his group's intention to operate without orders. The instructor's face hardens, questioning Kazuya's blatant defiance of his command. He bellows, demanding to know if Kazuya intends to go rogue once more. Kazuya, turning his back, reasons to his crew that weaker allies will only hinder their combat effectiveness. One of Kazuya's smirking cronies chimes in, suggesting their independent monster slaying is all that matters. As instructors lament their uncooperative nature despite their strength, Kazuya's group boldly declares they'll operate independently. The weary instructor sweats, the stress of managing these delinquents clearly taking its toll. He attempts to reassert his authority, declaring he won't tolerate their insubordination, but is cut short. A calm, spectacled student named Umichi intervenes, placing a reassuring hand on the agitated instructor's shoulder. Umichi whispers to the instructor, reminding him that Kazuya's group possesses top-tier abilities within the academy. With a confident smile, Umichi proposes he take charge of Kazuya's unruly squad, forming a specialized command unit. The instructor, swayed by Umichi's logic, acknowledges the validity of his point and the relative safety of the shallow layers. Umichi, with a reassuring smile, confidently tells the instructor to entrust Kazuya's squad to him. Kazuya's crew, led by a self-assured Umichi, look ready to cause some organized chaos. Meanwhile, Hiroto and Yuzuki prepare for their own mission, their objective lying deep within the middle layer. The cavern glows with an eerie blue light, emanating from large, crystalline formations. Umichi and an instructor traverse the crystal-lined passage, their destination confirmed as the middle layer. Urabe, one of Kazuya's cronies, sidles up to Umichi with a question. With a knowing smirk, Urabe seeks final confirmation. Will Umichi truly introduce them to his influential father if they cooperate? Urabe clarifies his interest, reminding Umichi that his father is the chairman of a top-tier hunter guild. A brief flashback shows a young, silhouetted Umichi standing before towering structures, hinting at his powerful background. Umichi, with a stern expression, assures Urabe he always honors his commitments. However, he reveals a crucial detail. They will all become members of the Black Dragon Fang Guild. Umichi, adjusting his glasses, coolly explains their future responsibilities will involve handling the guild's less savory tasks. Kazuya's crew chuckles as Umichi specifies their duties, including dealing with weaker hunters. Urabe seeks further clarification, listing potential dirty jobs like subduing rivals and eliminating threats. Urabe, a dark aura flaring, inquires if their assignments might also involve more permanent solutions to problems. Another of Kazuya's cronies grins, expressing no moral objections as long as the pay is good in the lawless dungeon. Umichi, with a knowing smile, informs Urabe that their first target is conveniently located in the middle layer. With a chilling grin, Umichi adds that their target is a woman and silence is golden. The sinister implication hangs in the air. Their demise will be attributed to a monster attack. Umichi gives his crew carte blanche for their upcoming task, and they're visibly thrilled by the freedom. Deep in the middle layer, Yuzuki and her team face off against hulking, crystal-armored monsters. Yuzuki darts forward, her sword flashing as she meets the icy brute head-on. An intense aura flares around Yuzuki, channeling her power before the colossal beast. She initiates her signature technique, air step, her expression one of fierce concentration. Glowing footholds materialize beneath her, allowing Yuzuki to outmaneuver the lumbering monster. A blinding series of sword strikes erupts from Yuzuki, carving through the creature's defenses. Her classmates, Hiroto among them, watch in awe as glittering motes fill the air after her display. Umichi's group, including a grinning Urabe, observes the battle from a distance, while Hiroto looks on thoughtfully. Hiroto internally notes Yuzuki's exceptional skill, befitting the school's strongest and most celebrated female student. A fellow student, Murano, expresses her shock at Yuzuki single-handedly dispatching 2 Wendigos so quickly. Murano remarks to Hiroto that Yuzuki seems otherworldly, even leading the attack force beyond the instructor's role. Hiroto silently acknowledges Yuzuki's undeniable skill, a thoughtful expression on his face. Surveying the defeated monsters, Hiroto privately wonders if the praise for Yuzuki is slightly overblown. Murano notices Hiroto's contemplation, and after he deflects, decides to ask him a question. With a bright smile, Murano casually tells Hiroto that Murano is perfectly fine. Hiroto, slightly confused by the name, prompts Murano to clarify her full name is Itu Murano. Murano extends a friendly hand, suggesting they drop formalities as fellow students feeling a bit out of the loop. Hiroto, after a moment's consideration, extends his own hand towards Murano's. They shake hands, Hiroto introducing himself as Ijima Hiroto and agreeing to use first names, citing his preference for knowing who has his back. Umichi, ever the strategist, inquires about a silver-armored individual within Yuzuki's, or rather Kujo's party. Murano casually identifies the silver-clad figure as Umichi-senpai, now tasked with leading Class B in the shallow layer. Hiroto ponders this information with a serious expression, while Murano looks on, a question mark practically appearing above her head. Hiroto, ever cautious, directly asks Murano if she genuinely wants to shake hands with him, catching her off guard. He reveals his F-rank status led to discrimination in his orphanage days, a pattern he sees continuing at the academy. Murano bursts into a bright, reassuring laugh, telling him not to fret over such things, a tiny chibi version of her echoing surprise. Hiroto is visibly surprised by her completely unfazed and cheerful reaction to his revelation. Murano cheerfully admits she's an E-rank herself, dismissing his concerns about ranks with a friendly pat. A flicker of surprise crosses Hiroto's face, quickly followed by a soft smile as he concludes Murano seems genuinely kind. The scene transitions to a breathtaking view of luminous purple crystals, light shafts piercing the cavern's darkness. Hiroto internally grumbles about their tedious lookout duty, guarding a passage near defeated monsters. He sips from a flask, contemplating the severe damage monsters could inflict if they reached the shallow layer. Murano, despite acknowledging their duty's importance, privately resolves to flee and report any truly dangerous monsters. Suddenly, Murano's eyes widen in alarm as she senses an approaching threat. A colossal horned shadow looms over them as both Hiroto and Murano look up in shock. The source of the shadow is revealed, a monstrous, snarling Minotaur, its eyes glowing with fury. Murano's face pales, realizing a Minotaur is far beyond what students like them should encounter in this dungeon. Hiroto coolly glances at Murano, reminding her of her earlier statement about running and reporting. Murano, trapped between the advancing Minotaur and another appearing behind them, despairs that there's nowhere to run. Undeterred, Hiroto calmly draws a gleaming dagger, preparing to confront the impossible odds. Hiroto, dagger at the ready, declares it's time for them to take matters into their own hands, Murano just behind him. Without hesitation, Hiroto charges headfirst towards the monstrous Minotaur, Murano following suit with her spear. Murano calls out, a hint of concern in her voice, as Hiroto glances back, his resolve unshaken. With a smirk, Murano questions if his heroic charge to protect her is a bit outdated, her spear glinting sharply. Stepping forward with a confident grin, Murano announces she'll handle this, her spear crackling with energy. The Minotaur bellows, raising its massive club, as Murano stands her ground, ready for the confrontation. Murano executes a graceful leap, narrowly avoiding the Minotaur's devastating club slam that shatters the ground. Using her spear as a vaulting pole against the Minotaur's arm, Murano propels herself further into the air with surprising agility. From above, Murano unleashes a rapid series of spear strikes, golden energy lances raining down upon the bewildered beast. The Minotaur stumbles back, visibly impacted by Murano's swift and precise assault. Murano, with fierce determination, continues her elegant assault against the hulking Minotaur. Hiroto watches, internally acknowledging her incredible skill and minimal yet effective evasion. She executes a breathtaking aerial maneuver, her spear a blur, narrowly avoiding the beast's counter. Murano lands with poise, ready for the Minotaur's next move, her agility on full display. Her spear technique, Hiroto observes, possesses an almost divine grace amidst the chaos. The Minotaur retaliates with a furious ground slam, but Murano deftly sidesteps the crushing blow, the beast grinning menacingly. Her spear strikes true, but only just manages to scratch the Minotaur's incredibly thick hide. Despite her valiant efforts, Hiroto notes her attacks lack the power to truly injure the formidable creature. The Minotaur swings its massive axe, forcing Murano into another desperate dodge, her spear proving insufficient. A trickle of blood appears on Murano as the Minotaur shows a hint of annoyance, the fight taking its toll. Murano, with a powerful downward strike, lands a critical hit on the Minotaur's vulnerable neck. The beast recoils in agony, while Murano, though marked by the battle, stares it down with fierce resolve. As the Minotaur stumbles away, Murano coolly judges they've bought themselves some precious time. Hiroto, recalling her E-rank status, questions how her seemingly simple attack managed to pierce the Minotaur's formidable defenses. A chibi diagram illustrates her genius, exploiting the humanoid monster's throat weakness by redirecting its own power in a counter. Gazing at the defeated Minotaur, Hiroto acknowledges her martial arts are far beyond the Academy's standard teachings. Murano flashes a brilliant smile, confirming her exceptional skill is precisely why she's recognized as a Class A student. She begins to explain her heritage, referencing the legendary swordmaster Itu Itusai from a bygone era. Murano elaborates that Itusai was renowned not just for swordsmanship, but also for a legendary spear technique, though she admits her ancestral history is a bit fuzzy. With a proud chibi flourish, Murano declares her samurai family lineage, a fact that clearly impresses a chibi Hiroto. Murano calmly reiterates that her hunter aptitude is indeed still E-rank. She explains her dedication to researching monster weaknesses and mastering diverse martial arts, which shaped her current abilities. Hiroto internally fumes, wondering why any instructor would sideline someone with Murano's incredible martial skill. Murano, sensing his thoughts, admits she's pondered that injustice many times, a tiny question mark playfully appearing. Suddenly, a chibi Murano explodes with comical frustration, startling a chibi Hiroto with her sudden outburst. She vehemently denounces the unfairness of hunter aptitude and the advantages of innate talent. Murano passionately champions equality and equal opportunities, asserting talent shouldn't be the ultimate decider. Hiroto observes, slightly bewildered, as Murano composes herself after her fiery declaration. Feeling refreshed, Murano playfully offers Hiroto a chance to vent, but he smoothly declines for now. Hiroto muses that his initial thought of her being not bad was an understatement. She's genuinely fascinating. Murano, with a lingering hint of frustration, continues her thoughts on the system. She recalls her intense training, feeling her E-rank aptitude disrespects her ancestors' legacy, fueling her annoyance. Hiroto quietly processes her passionate outburst, his expression unreadable. Murano confidently winks, asserting that despite her limitations, she's currently the strongest first year. Her triumphant declaration is cut short as she senses a new presence, her eyes widening in surprise. A group of older students, led by a smirking figure, emerges from the shadows. The leader, a braided-haired senior, greets Murano with a distinctly unsettling grin. Murano's face pales slightly as she recognizes the unwelcome arrival of Urabe-senpai. Urabe mockingly recalls Murano's impressive martial arts display during a school battle, despite her low aptitude. Murano's expression hardens as Urabe implies he once showed her the harsh reality of talent's limitations. Urabe taunts Murano, suggesting her top spot is threatened by the growing first years. Murano, unimpressed, directly asks Urabe-senpai his purpose for being there, while Hiroto observes. Urabe casually dismisses her question, indicating their boss is the one with business. A bespectacled senior, clearly the leader, steps forward with a knowing smirk, ready to state his intentions. The leader reveals his business is specifically with Ijima, meaning Hiroto, whose expression remains stoic. He gloats about the convenience of dungeons for settling personal grudges, where accidents can easily occur. The bespectacled senior grins wickedly, relishing the opportune moment for his plan. Hiroto coolly deduces this confrontation is likely revenge for a previous encounter. A flashback shows Hiroto decisively dealing with this same senior, explaining the grudge. The senior menacingly declares the dungeon's lawlessness, where actions have no witnesses. Urabe smirks, promising Hiroto their encounter won't be a swift one. With a sinister grin and sharpened claws, Urabe reveals their orders are to make Hiroto's defeat a drawn-out affair. Murano's concern grows, recalling unsettling rumors about these seniors, now confirmed to be far worse than imagined. A close-up reveals Murano's deepening apprehension as the situation escalates. Hiroto, unfazed, questions the seniors' intentions towards Murano, given their no-witnesses policy. The bespectacled leader observes Hiroto and Murano's apparent closeness, then taunts Hiroto about his ability to protect her. Hiroto maintains his composure, his gaze locked intently on the smug senior. The leader and his cronies leer, eager to see Hiroto watch helplessly as they deal with Murano. A dangerous glint ignites in Hiroto's eyes as a powerful aura begins to flare around him. Hiroto explodes into action, launching a lightning-fast attack towards the bespectacled leader, the shockwave sending Murano flying. Hiroto's fist connects squarely with the bespectacled leader's jaw, sending shockwaves through the air. The senior's face distorts grotesquely from the sheer force of Hiroto's devastating blow. Watching from afar, Murano realizes the upperclassmen are even more unhinged than the rumors suggested. Determined to act, she resolves to protect Hiroto and find a way out of this deadly confrontation. A brilliant blue light explodes from her position as she prepares to unleash a powerful skill. One of the lackeys turns his attention to Murano, seeing her as an open target. The goon rushes forward, aiming to strike her down while she's distracted. In less than 1/100th of a second, Hiroto appears and delivers a swift, disabling chop to the attacker's neck. The lackey collapses, taken out of the fight before he even knew what hit him. With glowing eyes filled with fury, Hiroto glares at the remaining thugs, daring them to make a move. The remaining thugs are left bewildered, wondering where Hiroto vanished to as he blitzes through their ranks. He moves like lightning, systematically dismantling the remaining thugs with a flurry of incapacitating blows. Murano watches the entire exchange, her expression a mixture of shock and awe at his overwhelming power. The dust settles, revealing Hiroto standing calmly over the last of the defeated upperclassmen. A reflection in her wide eye reveals the true, intimidating power Hiroto has been hiding all along. He glances back at her, his expression calm yet carrying a newfound serious weight. She stares back, utterly speechless, the vast difference in their true power now terrifyingly clear. The scene shifts, taking us to the deepest and most ominous part of the dungeon. A mysterious robed figure performs a dark ritual, commanding a massive horde of terrifying monsters. The monster army glows with a sinister green energy, a legion of beasts awaiting their master's command. The robed figure channels a swirling vortex of dark energy, preparing to unleash his monstrous army. He revels in his power, believing his grand plan is finally coming to fruition. His celebration is cut short as one of his own monsters is suddenly and violently obliterated. The other creatures stare in horror, their mindless obedience shattered by raw fear. The ground erupts in a torrent of crimson spikes, tearing through the monster horde with ease. A second, more imposing robed figure emerges from the chaos, the true master of this slaughter. This newcomer stands atop the carnage, asserting his absolute dominance over the scene. The original ritualist looks up, his face a mask of pure terror as he realizes he's been outplayed. In an instant, the newcomer ends the ritualist's life, demonstrating his own terrifying power. All that remains of the ambitious sorcerer is a fading ripple in a pool of his own failure. The defeated sorcerer's life force is absorbed into a swirling crimson vortex. His essence explodes into a concentrated burst of pure green energy. This power coalesces into a single ethereal flame, burning with purpose. The flame shoots through a sterile futuristic corridor, leaving the dungeon far behind. The scene shifts to a desolate, abandoned section of what appears to be a high-tech facility. Inside, rows of glowing containment pods line the walls of a hidden laboratory. Each pod holds a different monstrous being, subjects of some twisted experiment. One particular subject, heavily bound in glowing chains, begins to stir within its chamber. This powerful captive is revealed to be the legendary 6th Heavenly Demon Lord, Vashavaltane. The mysterious green flame continues its journey, homing in on the location of the imprisoned Demon Lord. The green flame homes in on its target, phasing directly into the demon lord's containment pod. A brilliant flash of light envelops the pod as the energy is forcefully absorbed by the captive being. The creature's eyes snap open, glowing with a terrifying red light as it awakens from its slumber. Back in the shallow part of the dungeon, a similar green energy signature materializes from thin air. The energy coalesces into a formidable black-armored knight known as the Black Assura, a familiar of the Demon Lord. This A+ rank monster is a threat so great that even professional guilds would abandon the dungeon rather than face it. The Assura's glowing eyes promise nothing but destruction for anyone foolish enough to stand in its way. Its very presence signals the beginning of an unavoidable and bloody tragedy. The cave is already littered with the bodies of lesser monsters, a testament to the Assura's brutal efficiency. Hiroto, Murano, and the other students are resting right in the path of this new, unstoppable foe. Meanwhile, other students are so bored by the lack of action that they can't stop yawning. One of them remarks how the supposed emergency turned out to be a complete non-issue. They complain that all they've done is chores and guard duty instead of fighting any real monsters. Their only task is to watch over the upperclassmen, who are now thoroughly bound and neutralized. Unlike the others, Hiroto remains on high alert, while Murano seems flustered by his intensity. She tries to lighten the mood, proudly pointing out that their attackers are all taken care of. Hiroto agrees grimly, his focus already elsewhere as a serious expression darkens his face. Murano finally confronts him, admitting she knew he was strong but was not prepared for the truth. With a mix of awe and fear, she states his true power is far beyond anything a student should possess. He meets her gaze, his glowing eyes revealing a warrior who understands the true danger that is yet to come. Murano presses him for an explanation, but he feigns ignorance about what she wants to know. With a determined glint in her eye, she demands to know the secret behind his overwhelming strength. He bluntly refuses to answer, leaving her completely flabbergasted by his rejection. She gets closer, frustrated by his secrecy, and jokingly asking if he's some kind of secret agent. Hiroto calmly denies her accusation, his expression hinting at a far more complex reality. Their conversation is cut short by the ominous sound of heavy armor clanking in the distance. Murano laments that as soon as one threat is dealt with, another appears, while Hiroto stares grimly ahead. The hulking Black Assura stands before them, its menacing form prompting her to wonder if it's a unique monster. She grips her spear, her face a mask of disbelief as she admits she's never seen such a creature. Hiroto's expression shifts to one of genuine alarm, recognizing the true terrifying nature of their new enemy. Murano recalls a chilling premonition, a vision of a devastating monster stampede that would bring ruin. Hiroto, however, ignores feelings and instead analyzes his own status window for hard data. He reviews his stats, noting his giant killer title, but his focus narrows to a single attribute. His agility stat is glowing, a clear system alert warning him of an overwhelming threat. As if summoned by his realization, the Black Assura tightens its grip, its crimson aura flaring with malice. Hiroto's expression turns deadly serious, while Murano can only watch in horrified disbelief. The armored knight takes a single deliberate step, its advance signaling the start of the battle. Steeling his nerves, Hiroto prepares to face the monstrous foe, his gaze unwavering. With explosive speed, the Assura closes the distance in an instant, its blade poised to strike. Hiroto reacts with inhuman reflexes, raising his own blade to parry the devastating attack. The sheer force of the impact sends Hiroto sliding backward across the cavern floor. The Black Assura looms over him, raising its massive sword for a finishing blow. With a devastating downward slash, the knight misses as Hiroto narrowly evades the attack. The shockwave sends him tumbling, tearing his clothes and leaving him visibly shaken. He lands hard, putting distance between himself and the unmoving, terrifying enemy. Clutching his injured shoulder, Hiroto grimly acknowledges that the Assura's speed surpasses his own. He quickly revises his thought, realizing every single one of the monster's abilities is likely superior. As Murano watches in worry, he resolves that he must go all out if he hopes to survive. He launches himself forward again, dodging through the Assura's oppressive, shadowy presence. While in motion, he pulls out a small, mysterious pouch, preparing to use a hidden trump card. He hurls the small pouch directly at the armored knight's head. The pouch contains a potent mix of dungeon-grown red pepper and mandragora, a homemade irritant. With a confident grin, Hiroto prepares to ignite the mixture with a burst of fire magic. The makeshift bomb strikes the Assura's helmet with perfect accuracy. A fiery explosion erupts, a self-defense tool he's glad he had on hand. Believing his opponent is stunned, Hiroto lunges in with his knife, aiming for a decisive blow. But through the inferno, the Assura's glowing eyes reveal it is completely unharmed. Hiroto's triumphant expression shatters into disbelief as his trump card proves ineffective. As the flames melt away the helmet, he discovers the horrifying truth about what's inside the armor. The revealed skeletal knight retaliates with a swift, merciless swing of its colossal blade. Hiroto desperately parries the attack, his small knife groaning under the immense pressure of the Assura's blade. He's thrown back by the impact as the colossal sword smashes into the ground where he just stood. The skeletal knight stands impassively, its glowing red eyes fixed on its target. Acknowledging the monster's overwhelming power, Hiroto steels his resolve for a different approach. The Assura defies its size, leaping high into the air to launch a devastating aerial assault. Instead of retreating, Hiroto rushes in, grabbing the knight's arm to disrupt its attack. He uses the monster's own momentum to swing himself around its body, seeking an opening. Finding his mark, he lands a solid kick to the Assura's back, staggering the hulking beast. Before it can recover, Hiroto seizes the knight's head, locking it in a powerful hold. He applies crushing force, but the armored creature's neck refuses to yield, its crimson aura flaring in defiance. The Assura's raw power easily breaks Hiroto's hold, sending him crashing to the cavern floor. Despite the setback, a small, knowing smile plays on his lips as a new plan forms in his mind. Murano watches in utter bewilderment, recognizing his move as a martial arts locking technique. He finally reveals a piece of his secret, admitting his official hunter aptitude is a lowly F rank. A flashback shows a young, determined Hiroto training relentlessly in martial arts to overcome his weakness. He spent his youth studying and training, pushing his body and mind to their absolute limits. Back in the present, his eyes burn with the fire of someone who has fought for every ounce of his strength. The scene shifts to a terrifying vision of a similar dark knight single-handedly causing mass destruction. A group of terrified adventurers can only stare in horror at the unstoppable harbinger of doom. The dark knight raises its blade, ready to continue its merciless rampage through the dungeon. In a single devastating swing, the dark knight effortlessly cuts down the entire party of adventurers. The monstrous knight stands impassively, its glowing eye reflecting the grim results of its attack. As its blade drips onto the cavern floor, a survivor struggles to comprehend the sudden, overwhelming violence. The horrifying realization dawns that everyone in their group has been instantly defeated. An instructor desperately tries to rally the few remaining students, urging them to overcome their shock. She reminds them of their ambition to become hunters, hoping to ignite their fighting spirit. A terrified student counters that they are merely trainees, completely unprepared for such a foe. The instructor attempts to frame the massacre as a rare but foreseeable dungeon accident. Her student immediately points out the sheer scale of the catastrophe happening right before their eyes. The instructor's brave facade finally shatters, leaving her slumped against a wall in utter defeat. Finding her resolve, the instructor declares they've already called for backup from other guilds. Their mission is to simply hold their ground, buying time for the mobilized forces to arrive and finish the job. Pointing forward with authority, she officially takes command of the surviving students. With a fierce glare, she demands every single one of them prepare to fight for their very survival. Her words do little to inspire the terrified students, who look utterly defeated. Seeing their fear, she changes her approach, reminding them of a former B-rank hunter known as the Sword Saint. As if on cue, Instructor Godai appears, radiating an aura of immense power and confidence. His arrival immediately shifts the mood, as the terrified students now look on with relief and admiration. Their spirits ignited, the students shout their renewed commitment to follow their instructor's lead. With their morale completely restored, the trainees prepare themselves for the coming battle. Just as hope is restored, the Dark Knight moves in a blur, impaling the Sword Saint with its blade. Instructor Godai stares down in confusion as his life begins to fade. The students can only watch in speechless horror as their legendary instructor collapses to the ground. The female instructor's confidence shatters, unable to process the instant defeat of their strongest fighter. One brave student, fueled by desperation, charges forward to avenge his fallen master. But his courage is met with overwhelming force as the knight brings its armored boot down upon him. The remaining survivors are frozen in fear, witnessing the futility of resistance. The knight's blade falls again, ending the student's desperate attack in a single brutal motion. His hand falls limp, his life extinguished before he could even land a blow. The last vestiges of hope evaporate, replaced by the raw, unadulterated terror of their impending doom. The horrifying flashback concludes, showing the Dark Knight standing victorious in the dungeon's deepest lair. The scene shifts back to the present, where a surviving student named Yuzuki looks on with grim determination. She turns to her male companion, believing he might have a way to defeat the monster that even their instructors couldn't. Her expression is filled with unwavering faith, convinced of his hidden potential to overcome anything. This belief is rooted in her own unique skill, the dragon of fighting spirit, which can temporarily double her stats. Her friend, however, knows the terrible price of her ability, believing it will shorten her lifespan. He reluctantly acknowledges that she is their only hope in this desperate situation. The weight of the decision is etched on his face as he struggles with the potential sacrifice. She reassures him, downplaying the unproven risk to her life and urging him to let her fight. Dismissing the scholar's warning as mere theory, she prepares to unleash her power. With a firm grip on her weapon, she readies herself for the ultimate sacrifice. Her friend tearfully thanks her, lamenting the cruel choice they've been forced to make. Yuzuki's expression hardens, revealing her own unshakable resolve in this dire moment. Focusing her will, she prepares to activate the powerful skill that puts her life on the line. Her eyes ignite with a crimson glow as she unleashes the legendary Dragon of Fighting Spirit. A vortex of fiery energy swirls around her, her power now reaching its absolute peak. Taking the lead, she strides forward, asking her companions to support her from the back line. She accepts that there is no other way to win, believing this is the path of a true hero. With her sword held ready, she fully embraces the heroic role that has been thrust upon her. Standing alone within a ring of fire, she finally confronts the Dark Knight head-on. The narrative flashes back, revealing the protagonist's earlier suspicion about the dungeon's true nature. He had questioned the presence of an armored undead skeleton in a place designated only for beast monsters. The scene cuts to a different girl who had a chilling premonition of the disaster to come. This premonition fueled the protagonist's worry for his friends, compelling him to act alone. His companion Kujo was stunned by his decision to venture into the dungeon's deepest level by himself. She playfully questioned his concern, reminding him that she was supposedly the school's strongest fighter. Yet she ultimately placed her faith in him, deciding to stay behind so he could act freely. Resigned, she resolved to stand guard, entrusting the mission entirely to him. The flashback ends, returning to the present as Kujo reflects on a lifetime of constant effort. A shattered reflection reveals her past self, showing that she has always pushed herself to be the best. She scoffs at his reckless plan, privately calling him an idiot for his selfless determination. Her thoughts are interrupted by a sudden, startling notification on her device. The screen reveals a system message confirming the protagonist's desire for power has unlocked access to a new soul. Her eyes widen as she processes the cryptic message, questioning its implications. The notification lingers, a stark confirmation that a profound change has just occurred within her friend. The protagonist notices her stunned silence, snapping her out of her daze with a question. She quickly tries to cover, blaming the strange message on a simple device virus. Becoming flustered, she awkwardly attempts to clarify her vague excuse. She frantically denies any embarrassing implications, much to the protagonist's quiet amusement. Shifting gears, she agrees to his dangerous mission but demands a single promise in return. The protagonist is taken aback, questioning her sudden demand for a promise. She explains that she won't be able to sleep knowing her lifesaver is walking into certain danger. Reaching out her hand, she insists he promise to return, framing it as a selfish request for her own peace of mind. He is momentarily stunned by her bluntness, causing her to get flustered as she repeats her demand. She tries to bribe him with the promise of a famous cafeteria coffee, a simple reward for his safe return. He is privately amused by her awkward, roundabout way of expressing genuine concern for his life. Finding her personality intriguing, he accepts her terms with a confident smirk. They shake hands, sealing their pact with a shared vision of a peaceful future. With the promise made, the protagonist heads into the darkness, his status screen reflecting his current level. A glint of light flashes across his eye, a symbol of his unyielding resolve as he begins his solo mission. The scene returns to the present, where a new companion calls out to the protagonist as he examines his status screen. He realizes with dread that his status is trying to warn him of an impending, overwhelming threat. Suddenly, the darkness is filled with glowing red eyes, heralding the arrival of the Black Knight from the flashback. To his horror, he senses that not one, but 10 of these powerful monsters are now marching their way. His companion looks up at him in disbelief, questioning the grim reality of his assessment. She pales at his certainty, as he insists he knows 10 more of those monsters are coming. He quickly moves to a safer position, explaining that they haven't been spotted yet. Peeking out from cover, he tells her to stay behind, knowing she can't survive against such numbers. She reluctantly agrees, retreating into the shadows to await his return. As he disappears, her thoughts are filled with worry, silently pleading for him to be careful. He stands his ground in the vast, ominous cavern, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. His dread deepens as the first of the armored knights stomps into view, its blade gleaming menacingly. Confronting the immense pressure from a single knight, he immediately doubts his ability to win. He's forced to evade as the knight attacks with shocking speed, defying its bulky appearance. A look of intense focus crosses his face as he barely manages to manifest a defense against the blitz. The daunting task becomes even more impossible as the rest of the knights begin to close in. A wave of despair washes over him as he fully comprehends the futility of fighting all 10 at once. Concluding this is his only option, he launches a fierce counterattack, his blade glowing with energy. His focus on one enemy leaves him vulnerable, and a second knight lands a critical hit from behind. Staring in shock and agony, he grimly accepts that he has walked into an inescapable trap. He's viciously impaled from multiple directions, the attack overwhelming his defenses. In the darkness, the cold, red eyes of his assailants watch his demise without emotion. Blood streams from his mouth as the reality of his fatal wounds sets in. A final crushing blow sends him hurtling toward the unforgiving ground. He collapses, utterly defeated, lamenting his failure to protect everyone. Even on the brink of death, his will to fight refuses to be extinguished. A colossal demonic silhouette materializes from the shadows, dwarfing the knights around it. The mysterious entity silently questions why a mere mortal would dare to interfere. Its eye weeps a single tear of blood, annoyed that its grand banquet has been disturbed. A system notification declares the Demon Lord Hunt event has concluded, with unregistered players now considered eliminated. A new system notification appears, declaring a match has been found for the fallen protagonist. The message reveals the match is a sealed Demon Lord seed, and that he's being transported to the Vitra domain. He clutches his chest in shock as his body is dematerialized and pulled into the system's strange new realm. He rematerializes in a hazy, unfamiliar world, looking up in dazed confusion. Standing alone on a desolate street, his shadow is dwarfed by an unseen, colossal presence. He finds himself in a strange, purple-hued city, completely disoriented by his sudden change in location. The ground trembles as a gigantic, monstrous foot slams down nearby, heralding a new threat. His eyes widen in pure terror as he gazes up at the source of the disturbance. A gargantuan, multi-eyed dragon looms over him, its sheer size dominating the ruined city. The scene suddenly shifts, showing him looking nervously at a sign in a seemingly normal yet unfamiliar location. A system window pops up announcing the start of the Demon Lord Hunt tutorial. His opponent is revealed as a sealed Demon Lord seed, the fearsome dragon Vitra. The protagonist stares in disbelief, completely overwhelmed by the monstrous foe before him. Vitra gathers its power, preparing to unleash a cataclysmic breath attack. A massive beam of fire erupts from its maw, hurtling directly toward the stunned protagonist. His status screen flashes, showing his health dropping instantly to 0 from the overwhelming attack. The fiery blast intensifies, completely consuming him in a torrent of destruction. The entire city is annihilated in a single blinding explosion, leaving only ruin in its wake. His body disintegrates into particles of light, seemingly erased by the system. He finds himself reconstituted in a strange, digital space, looking down upon the destroyed tutorial area. He jolts back to awareness, finding himself on the ground in the digital space. A system window appears, ready to explain the rules of this impossible tutorial. The system reveals his death was a one-time event, and a higher power will prevent him from truly dying. He learns he has 1 hour to kill Vitra, or he'll surrender and lose all his progress. The system mockingly offers him a small safe zone, inviting him to hide from the pain of the challenge. As he processes this, the digital space around him begins to shift and reconfigure. A powerful-looking sword materializes from the light, descending directly toward him. The system presents the weapon, boasting it can cut almost anything, except the scales of his target. He stares blankly at the uselessly powerful sword that has been gifted to him. With the rules set, the system simply tells him to use his time wisely. He realizes the system's wording implies his chances of winning aren't actually 0. He gazes at the immense crater, contemplating the sheer power of the beast that created it. His focus shifts to the sword's strange condition. It can cut almost anything except the one thing he needs to. The protagonist questions the point of such a powerful weapon if it's useless against his specific foe. A spark of an idea begins to form as he reevaluates the impossible situation. He weighs the two facts he's been given, an immortal body and an almost unbreakable sword. Putting the pieces together, he realizes there might be a loophole in the system's rules. A confident smirk appears on his face as a daring and certain plan solidifies in his mind. As if on cue, the mighty dragon Vitra descends once more, ready to restart the tutorial. He considers hiding, but knows that returning to his original doomed location is a far worse fate. He's haunted by the visceral memory of his brutal and bloody defeat. Failing this tutorial means being sent right back to that inescapable hell. He snaps himself out of his stupor, annoyed at his own earlier oversight. The protagonist recalls the game-like application that gave him levels and skills. He remembers that the system was the very reason he grew stronger in the first place. With his mind made up, he confidently grips the sword, his eyes burning with resolve. He faces the colossal dragon, his entire plan now hinging on the beast's actions. The only thing left is to see if his daring gamble will pay off. He makes his move, beginning an impossible sprint up the dragon's massive form. Using his incredible speed, he treats the monster's body as a vertical racetrack. He takes a death-defying leap, aiming straight for the dragon's open mouth. Vitra's colossal maw opens wide, ready to swallow him whole. With a powerful snap of its jaws, the dragon seemingly devours the protagonist. He lands inside the beast, surrounded by the grotesque, fleshy walls of its throat. Despite the horrifying situation, he calmly accepts his grim, temporary predicament. His entire strategy was built on the first rule, a body that cannot truly die. The second piece of the puzzle was the sword, useless against scales but deadly to anything else. Combining these two facts, he deduced there was only one possible path to victory. His master plan is revealed, to destroy the dragon from within its own body. The protagonist endures excruciating agony as the beast's internal acids begin to dissolve him. His flesh melts away to the bone, only to be instantly regenerated by the system's power. Paralyzed by the potent stomach acid, he can only endure as his body dissolves around him. He's trapped in a horrifying loop of regeneration and dissolution, a private hell of unending pain. The constant agony breaks his will, leaving him mentally pleading for release from the torment. Though only minutes have passed, the experience felt like an eternity that completely crushed his spirit. In his broken state, he surrenders to his fate, wishing for the entire ordeal to be over. He drifts in a calm mental void, seemingly having accepted his grim situation. Yet a memory of his past defeat reignites a furious spark of defiance within him. He questions the sanity of his own plan while still clutching the sword, his only tool for victory. The answer becomes clear as he remembers his past self, his desperate, all-consuming desire for power. He questions what he truly wants to do with all this power. A memory of a girl named Yuzuki surfaces, revealing the true reason for his struggle. He remembers wanting her to look his way, but realizes that wasn't his real motivation. He refuses to accept the way she sees him. His greatest fear is being perceived as a weakling in her eyes. This revelation fuels him, and he reaches for his sword through the searing pain. He tightens his grip, initiating the first agonizing motion of his counterattack. He refuses to let this end with a half-hearted attempt, fully embracing the torment. Fighting through the paralysis, he unleashes a silent scream of pure defiance. His eyes burn with a terrifying resolve, his spirit reforged and now completely unbreakable. High in the sky, the mighty dragon lets out a confused growl, sensing something is terribly wrong. Its eyes widen in shock as it realizes the source of the disturbance is coming from within. The beast's stomach begins to distend, pushed outward by an unstoppable internal force. Sharp points suddenly erupt from its chest, a gruesome prelude to its demise. With a final agonizing roar, the sword blade bursts forth, tearing through flesh and scale. The dragon convulses in midair, its body ravaged by the attack from the inside out. From the gaping wound, the protagonist's determined eyes glare out, his plan a brutal success. Its life extinguished, the colossal beast plummets from the sky, crashing heavily to the earth. A rain of blood follows its descent, marking the end of the seemingly invincible monster. Standing over the remains, the protagonist firmly grips his sword, his hand stained by his hard-won victory. Battered and exhausted, he finally collapses as blue particles signal the end of the fight. His body goes limp, letting out a final, silent cry of pure exhaustion from the ordeal. A system notification appears, informing him he's reached his growth limit and can no longer level up. However, by defeating the dragon, he gains a new subjugation privilege and a permanent boost to his strength. A strange, scaly energy envelops him as he absorbs the dragon's power into his very being. With the tutorial complete, a system command initiates his return to his original location. As he's transported, a memory of Yuzuki surfaces, recalling their shared belief that heroes are always kind and strong. He remembers his younger self vowing to be the hero in their games, assigning Yuzuki the role of a healer. She would always complain about being the healer, believing that fighting was a boy's job. But his true motive was simple. Even in a game, he never wanted to see her get hurt. He reminisces about Yuzuki's thoughts, realizing she found his words old-fashioned. Despite her complaints, she secretly found his earnest, protective side endearing. His promise to protect her was meant to extend far beyond their childhood games. He had vowed to always be her hero, ready to save her from any trouble. In her heart, she never disliked his heroic nature. She actually admired it. As time passed, however, the weight of that heroic ideal began to shift. A grim memory surfaces of Yuzuki being overwhelmed, hailed as a saint and humanity's sword. She was thrust into the very hero role he had always played in their childhood fantasies. The truth was, she would have been perfectly happy staying in her role as the healer. Instead, she was forced to the front lines, expected to be a shield for everyone else. The weight of saving humanity crushes her spirit, a burden she feels is too heavy to bear alone. A memory of a past battle surfaces, showing her and her comrades utterly defeated on the ground. She stares in horror at the aftermath, questioning the reality of the brutal scene before her. Frustration boils over as she realizes sacrificing her allies only took down a single foe. Her brief victory is overshadowed by the arrival of an entire legion of identical armored monsters. Exhausted, she leans on her sword, wondering if this is all because she isn't the true hero. She lets out a sigh of pure resignation, her hope completely extinguished. A grim realization dawns on her as she clutches her sword, convinced she cannot win this fight. With a look of finality, she accepts that her time has finally run out. The endless horde of enemies confirms her deepest fear. There is no way to survive this. She steels herself, realizing she's the last one standing and must face the enemy alone. Gritting her teeth, she accepts that there is no other way to end this fight. Her determined expression suddenly shatters, replaced by one of pure shock. She stares at her own hands, bewildered as they begin to tremble uncontrollably. A single tear escapes as the facade of the unshakable hero finally begins to crack. Looking up at the menacing enemy, she finally puts a name to the unfamiliar sensation overwhelming her. It's a raw, paralyzing fear she's never truly allowed herself to experience until now. Her life has been so consumed by duty that she never had a moment to feel her own terror. She remembers the perfect image she always projected, a holy saint, living up to everyone's expectations. But a dark screen hints that the truth behind her heroic persona is something else entirely. Her hands tremble as she tightens her grip on the sword, her resolve wavering. She feels herself sinking into a void of despair, realizing she has been alone all this time. From the enemy's perspective, she is just a lone, insignificant figure about to be crushed. In her heart, the saint hailed as humanity's sword lets out a desperate plea for help. With tears in her eyes, she finally admits the one thing she never could. She needs to be saved. As her hope fades, a single name echoes in her mind, a final prayer to her childhood friend Hiroto. Suddenly, a powerful foot slams into the ground, shattering the battlefield with immense force. A devastating kick unleashes a wave of green energy, tearing through the nearest monster. Yuzuki stares in shock as a brilliant green light cuts a swath through the enemy ranks. She remembers his childhood promise. Whenever she was in trouble, he would be there to save her. She's stunned, questioning how someone supposedly weak could possess such overwhelming strength. Meanwhile, Hiroto unleashes his fury on the monsters, his own mind echoing with questions. He relentlessly tears through the enemy ranks, driven by an unspoken purpose. His mind is a storm of confusion, but his fists deliver a clear and brutal message. Yet, with a single, decisive strike, he finds the clarity he was searching for. Yuzuki, with a faint smile, wonders what took her hero so long to arrive. Tears of relief stream down her face as she playfully chides him for his timing. Hiroto stands before her, the very image of the hero he promised to be. He gives her a reassuring look, letting her know he rushed to her side without a moment's hesitation. Drawing his blade, he prepares to unleash his full power and end the battle swiftly. A system window announces the activation of his fearsome Tushin no Ryu skill. An armored behemoth swings its massive sword down, aiming to obliterate him instantly. But with shocking ease, he catches the colossal blade with just his fingertips. His own dagger crackles with a dark, formidable energy, ready for the counterattack. He unleashes a swift strike, severing the monster's sword arm in a flash of purple light. The creature's tough armor offers no resistance, feeling as soft as cake to his empowered blade. He dances through the battlefield, his movements a blur of deadly, elegant precision. A calm, focused expression settles on his face as he dismantles his foe piece by piece. With one final, decisive blow, he completely obliterates the once imposing enemy. Standing over the wreckage, he begins to question the true nature of the application that granted him this incredible strength. He ponders the true identity of the Demon King application that granted him this power. Yuzuki surveys the aftermath, confirming that all the enemies have been annihilated. She somberly acknowledges that their allies were also lost in the devastating battle. Hiroto's concern shifts to the fate of the explorers on the dungeon's shallower layers. Yuzuki reveals several glowing crystals, identifying them as communication devices for the dungeon. After attempting to make contact, she confirms that there is only silence from the other side. A sudden memory strikes Hiroto as he remembers another survivor, a girl named Itu. He recalls telling her to stay hidden, but a flashback shows she is now nowhere to be found. A frantic search reveals no sign of her, giving him a sliver of hope that she's still alive. He grimly deduces she was likely taken, knowing the sinister habits of the dungeon's creatures. Hiroto urges that they must find Itu immediately, fearing they are running out of time. Yuzuki listens intently, her expression hardening with resolve. Without a moment's hesitation, she declares that she will join him in the search. She admits that she not only wants to help, but also feels much safer by his side. Placing a trusting hand on his shoulder, she solidifies their renewed partnership. She puts her complete faith in him, and he responds with a reassuring, confident smile. But his confidence instantly shatters as his eyes widen in pure, unadulterated horror. Yuzuki mirrors his terror, gasping as they stumble upon a gruesome discovery. Their worst fears are confirmed by the sight of a blood-stained crystal shard lying in a dark pool. They find Itu's lifeless body, a tragic end to their desperate search for survivors. Hiroto is crushed by the cruel irony that in saving one person, he failed to save another. He remembers his innocent childhood desire to simply be a good person. A memory of Itu's cheerful promise to treat him to coffee flashes through his mind. That happy memory is twisted by the grim reality that the dungeon is a place of death. Yuzuki watches in shock as Hiroto's hand trembles with suppressed fury. His face contorts with unbearable grief and rage over his powerlessness. The image of Itu's smiling face is violently torn apart in his mind. Yuzuki desperately calls out his name, trying to reach him through his anguish. But Hiroto is lost to his rage, turning his wrath on the remaining monsters. He channels his pain into a furious, unrestrained assault, seeking vengeance. He carves a path of destruction, his movements a blur of purple light and cold fury. With eyes burning with rage, he raises his dagger, ready to unleash another devastating blow. His blade plunges deep into another armored foe, the act offering no solace for his grief. The narrative shifts, revealing this entire brutal battle is a memory of a past event. He recalls this as the tragic story of his first day at the Artemis Hunter Academy. This event would later become known by a much more infamous name. He continues his relentless slaughter, each strike fueled by his overwhelming despair. It was the worst monster hazard on record, claiming 271 lives and leaving only 2 survivors. Lost in his trauma, he repeatedly strikes a fallen monster as Yuzuki calls out to him. She screams his name in terror, reaching out as the dungeon begins to collapse around them. After the chaos, they somehow manage to make their way back from the brink. They returned not as heroes, but as the soul-haunted survivors of the tragedy. The fallout from the incident was so severe that Artemis Hunter Academy was forced to shut down. In a formal meeting, officials offered them the chance to transfer to a different academy, but the ultimate decision about their future was left entirely in their hands. They were also given the option to bypass school and start working as official hunters. With their old lives erased, they bowed, now completely free to choose their own path. The scene transitions to a peaceful park, a world away from the dungeon's horrors. Hiroto and Yuzuki walk in somber silence, the weight of their experience between them. Yuzuki finally turns to him, asking what he plans to do with their newfound freedom. Hiroto looks away, his expression heavy as he contemplates their uncertain future. Yuzuki states frankly that she has no good memories associated with dungeons. They walk through the serene park, a world away from the horrors they endured. She recalls that it wasn't just the monsters, but also the worthless humans who made it a nightmare. While agreeing those people were the worst, she reveals there's another side to her memories. A flashback to happier times reminds her of the kind people she met, people worth remembering. She expresses her desire to preserve the fact that those they lost were once living people. Yuzuki falls silent, seemingly understanding his unspoken resolve. She stops and confronts him directly, asking why he won't reveal the source of his power. A flashback shows her recalling his request that she take credit for defeating all the monsters. She presses him, asking if his secret is so great that he can't even trust her with it. In his mind, Hiroto insists it's not a matter of trust, but the mysterious nature of his Demon King application. He struggles internally, questioning how he could ever explain such an unbelievable power. He admits to himself that he can't tell others about a power he doesn't even understand. He fears the Hunters Guild would treat him as a dangerous variable if his true strength, surpassing even Yuzuki's, was revealed. He turns to her, his true motivation clear. He just wants the power to protect the people he cares about. His gaze falls, the weight of his secret and his goal pressing down on him. Yuzuki reminds him of her vow to team up with him, regardless of his path. But with a sorrowful expression, she apologizes, her resolve wavering. She turns her back on him, declaring she needs to be alone for a while, leaving their partnership in limbo. He watches her walk away, the distance between them growing with every step. Hiroto clenches his fist, frustrated by the secrets he's forced to keep. She simply asks for some time, a plea that hangs in the air between them. The scene shifts to a past conversation where Hiroto demanded she keep his existence a secret. In that memory, Yuzuki falls silent, contemplating his heavy demand. She admits she doesn't understand what's happened to him but still agrees to his terms. Her expression then brightens with a teasing smile, wishing he had arrived to save her sooner. Her sudden change in demeanor catches Hiroto completely off guard. He playfully retorts that he came as fast as his legs could carry him. The memory ends on a lighter note, with both of them sharing a moment of laughter. The memory fades, returning them to their somber walk through the park. Later that evening, the scene shifts to the exterior of their temporary lodging. The camera moves inside, down a quiet and sterile apartment hallway. Hiroto sleeps, completely unaware of the glowing phone on his nightstand. His phone flashes with a sudden emergency mission from the Demon King application. The system announces a match has been found, initiating the Demon Lord hunt. In an instant, Hiroto finds himself transported to a vast, crystalline coliseum. A system window flashes before his eyes, confirming his entry into the unexpected battle. He learns his opponent is the King of Purgatory, and the only way to win is through death. Across the arena, his red-haired adversary stands ready for their fatal duel. His opponent, a red-haired girl, stands ready, a hint of unease on her face. The system declares the battle has begun, leaving Hiroto utterly stunned by the sudden escalation. Across the arena, his opponent's confusion mirrors his own as she recognizes him. Hiroto stares back in disbelief, realizing his opponent is Murano, another survivor from the dungeon. A sinister command flashes before them, ordering the two survivors to fight to the death. A flashback takes us back 7 days to the horrific aftermath of the dungeon tragedy. In the memory, Murano is shown gravely wounded, her life slipping away. Her phone lies discarded in a pool of blood, a silent witness to the carnage. The phone's screen suddenly activates, revealing the same Demon King application that Hiroto possesses. The memory ends, showing how Murano was also transported to this deadly arena by the mysterious app. Murano looks around, utterly bewildered by her sudden change in surroundings. A cutesy pink system window pops up, catching her completely by surprise. She reaches out cautiously, trying to understand the bizarre interface floating before her. The screen assigns her a new identity, the King of Purgatory, Lucifer, and establishes a link. A second notification confirms she has acquired the Morning Star skill, adding to her confusion. She puts the pieces together, realizing the names refer to the legendary demon lord Lucifer. The revelation leaves her momentarily speechless, grappling with this new reality. The system then announces the start of the Demon Lord hunt with a cheerful yet sinister instruction. The horrifying command to fight to the death sinks in as she glances around the empty arena. The ominous message floats away, leaving her to face the grim reality of the deathmatch. Back in the present, a similar surge of energy envelops Hiroto. He opens his eyes, a grim acceptance settling on his face as the transformation completes. The two survivors stare at each other, calling out their names in mutual disbelief. Murano recalls her final moments, remembering her defeat at the hands of the Dark Knights. Hiroto connects the dots, realizing she too was brought here by the Demon Lord hunt. he shouts across the Colosseum, asking if she knows about the Demon King application. She scoffs, confirming she has the app, but dismisses it as some kind of strange virus. The confirmation hits Hiroto hard. He's not the only one with this cursed power. Murano's confusion turns to desperation as she demands he tell her what's going on. He looks away, struggling to find the words to explain their impossible situation. Unbeknownst to them, a mysterious figure watches their confrontation from a hidden location. A holographic display reveals the betting odds, with Murano being the overwhelming favorite. He observes them talking, clearly unimpressed by their lack of aggression. Annoyed by the stalemate, the powerful observer orders his subordinate to provoke the fighters. He gives a final, sinister instruction. If provocation fails, they are to psychologically torment them. Meanwhile, back in the arena, Hiroto admits to Murano that their predicament is almost impossible to believe. He then confesses that despite the absurdity, he has somehow become incredibly strong. Murano silently recalls his recent displays of power, confirming his claim is true. She brings up the grim victory condition, reminding him that one of them is supposed to die. Hiroto falls silent, gripping his sword as he grapples with the impossible choice before them. Hiroto recalls surviving his first defeat and questions if Murano's revival was similar. Murano grimly accepts the system's command for them to fight to the death. He speculates that their versions of the app might be different, explaining her unique skills and revival. He dismisses the confusing details, remembering his last fight ended in a draw after a time limit. Based on this, he proposes they simply wait for the timer to run out and force a stalemate. A cheerful but menacing system window pops up, shattering his hope by announcing there will be no draw. A system tutorial confirms the new rule, making it clear this match can only end with a death. The grim reality of the deathmatch sinks in, leaving both survivors utterly stunned. The brutal command hangs in the air, their expressions hardening for the inevitable conflict. Suddenly, Hiroto drops his sword and cries out, clutching his head in excruciating pain. A system warning declares a penalty for their stalemate as Hiroto stares at his bleeding hand. Murano clutches her head, equally tormented by the system's relentless command to fight. A swirling, disorienting energy engulfs Hiroto, overwhelming his senses. His vision is flooded with distorted text and a pair of sinister, glowing eyes. The cheerful pink system window reappears, its message now feeling far more threatening to a startled Murano. Her eyes begin to glow with a strange pink energy, reflecting the system's influence. Her expression turns vacant as the psychological torment takes complete hold of her. Her mind is flooded with a single brutal thought: she must be the one to kill. The terrifying alternative flashes through her mind. If she doesn't fight, she will be the one to die. Caught between killing and being killed, Murano's resolve hardens as she accepts the grim choice. Hiroto recoils in confusion as Murano's demeanor suddenly changes. He stares into her eyes, which now glow with a menacing pink energy, devoid of her former self. She accepts the grim reality, her body tensing as she prepares for the inevitable fight. Now fully under the system's influence, she embraces the brutal command to either kill or be killed. The two combatants lock eyes across the Colosseum, their expressions hardened and ready for battle. The system announces her Morning Star skill as she soars into the air, spear in hand. Without hesitation, she unleashes a devastating beam of pink energy directly at Hiroto. The attack slams into the arena floor, erupting in a cataclysmic explosion. Hiroto narrowly evades the blast, landing far away from the newly formed crater. He watches her warily, understanding that taking a direct hit from that attack is not an option. Murano continues her relentless assault, but Hiroto effortlessly evades her spear strikes. He confidently realizes that her attacks, no matter how fierce, will never connect with him. A memory surfaces of his own past, acknowledging her impressive martial arts and spear techniques. The flashback reveals a training session where his superior stats gave him an undeniable advantage over her. He recalls telling a younger Murano to simply give up, his glowing eyes showing his overwhelming power even then. Back in the present, Murano resorts to hand-to-hand combat, but her punch is easily deflected. Hiroto internally scoffs at her attempt, finding her current strength utterly pathetic compared to his. The scene triggers another memory, this time of him protecting a young, crying Yuzuki from harm. He questions the sudden vision, wondering why a memory of Yuzuki is appearing in this critical moment. The recollection hits him with the force of a lightning bolt, his eyes widening in sudden, shocking realization. He blocks her kick, desperately questioning why they are forced to fight each other. A strange pink energy begins to cloud his vision, threatening to overwhelm his mind. He clutches his head in agony, realizing the system is trying to swallow his consciousness whole. He grits his teeth, fighting a desperate internal battle against the psychological assault. Despite the immense pressure, he refuses to succumb to the system's control. With a surge of willpower, his eyes blaze gold as he forcefully breaks free from the mental manipulation. Now clear-headed, he desperately tries to get through to the still-controlled Murano. Apologizing for what he's about to do, he lands a decisive blow to knock her out of her trance. The attack works, and a dazed Murano collapses to the ground, the pink glow fading from her eyes. Just as they recover, a menacing new system window appears, coldly instructing them to continue their death match. Hiroto boldly rejects the system's command, refusing to continue the fight. His sheer willpower shatters the system's command window, defying its authority. Murano, now clear-headed, joins him in defiance, screaming her refusal to fight. Suddenly, the system rewards their rebellion, granting them the title, The One Who Defies the Will, and new skills. He questions the strange new title, wondering what the will he just defied truly is. Shaking off his confusion, he realizes the meaning of the title isn't the most pressing issue. His attention shifts to the practical reward, recognizing the new skills are far more important. He asks Murano if she received the same reward, and she confirms she also has the title and the new skills. Realizing they both received identical skills, the gears in his mind begin to turn, sensing a hidden message. A cunning smile spreads across his face as he realizes the system isn't demanding a fight, but offering them a way out. He looks at the tearful Murano, his mind racing to find a way out for them both. With a grim and determined expression, he proposes a shocking and desperate plan. Murano is stunned, completely baffled by his suggestion of a mutual demise. He reminds her that neither of them ever wanted to kill the other in the first place. He admits his theory is a long shot, but it's far better than passively accepting their fate. Trusting him, a tearful but resolute Murano agrees to his drastic course of action. Hiroto begins to explain his deduction, starting with the true meaning behind their new title. He points out the strange skills they received, like enemy search and escape, which contradict a deathmatch. He questions why the system would reward their defiance with skills meant for survival, not killing. He finally voices his suspicion that this entire ordeal is not a death sentence, but a twisted game. He recalls his last Demon Lord hunt, where the system also presented a hidden, insane route. He deduces this duel is a similar game, sensing a deliberate intention behind the system's timing. His shocking theory is that shadowy figures are betting on their fight from behind the scenes. Murano considers his disturbing hypothesis, finding it frighteningly believable. She presses him for the bottom line, needing to know what this means for their survival. He explains their new title and skills must be a crucial hint or a hidden message for them. He then proposes a radical idea. Perhaps their real goal is to escape the arena together. The concept of escaping the sealed Colosseum leaves Murano utterly stunned and confused. He admits it's only a gut feeling, as he lacks any solid proof for his desperate theory. His gaze then falls upon a massive, mysterious door at the far end of the icy battlefield. He turns to Murano with a confident smirk, suggesting his wild theory has a catch. As if on cue, the massive door begins to glow, confirming his suspicion wasn't far off the mark. The colossal gate slides open, revealing a path out of the frozen arena. They stand before the dark passage, realizing their escape means stepping into complete uncertainty. A new countdown appears, reminding them that time is a luxury they don't have. With no other choice, they sprint together into the darkness, racing against the clock. An invisible force suddenly strikes them both, a painful penalty for their defiance. The system coldly informs them a penalty has been activated, draining their health. A status bar appears, showing their life force rapidly depleting from the system's punishment. The timer continues to plummet, signaling that their escape is a brutal race against death itself. He glares at his dwindling health bar, his resolve hardening despite his critical condition. A new World Interference Authority skill flashes in his mind, a mystery he must shelve for now. The system's penalty intensifies, relentlessly draining their life force as they run. Murano grows fearful as their health plummets below 10%, questioning their desperate gamble. He acknowledges their dire situation, realizing the system's drain is far deadlier than any physical wound. Leaving a trail of blood, he staggers onward as the penalty takes a severe toll. Losing hope, Murano weakly suggests they should turn back. She reveals the system's tempting offer. The penalty will cease if they return to the arena. He coldly reminds her that returning to the arena means returning to a fight to the death. With tears streaming down her face, she admits that pressing forward seems like a different kind of suicide. He spots a glimmer of light in the distance, a potential end to their ordeal. With renewed determination, he urges Murano to push through with him. They race through the void, desperately trying to reach the distant glow. His own health is at a critical low, with only 3 points remaining. Seeing Murano collapse, he grabs her and forces them both onward. He carries her, tears of despair streaming down his face as he fears this is the end. The system's penalty relentlessly ticks down his final points of health. With his last ounce of strength, he carries them both into the blinding light. As his consciousness fades, his thoughts drift back to the mysterious app that started it all. He reflects on the unknown figures who forced him into these impossible, cruel games. With his last breath, he fiercely rejects his fate, refusing to die in this place. The system executes its final penalty, delivering a seemingly fatal blow. His health bar officially drops to 0, signaling his apparent demise. They collapse together, their bodies limp as they drift through the void. In a stunning reversal, his health miraculously flickers back to a single point. He lets out a silent scream as an unknown power surges through him. Their feet finally touch solid ground, landing in a new, unknown location. A system message confirms their survival as they find themselves in a crystalline chamber. For their defiance, they are both granted the title, the one who rebels against the world. Elsewhere, a mysterious bearded figure observes the outcome of their trial. The bearded figure observes a holographic display, noting the lopsided results of the trial. An unseen associate questions the legitimacy of their last-second health recovery. He smirks, explaining he merely restored their pre-penalty health, calculating it to leave them with exactly 1 point. The associate presses further, asking if such direct interference is even allowed. A mysterious woman with red nails interjects, revealing the entire arena fight was their intervention. She explains their meddling is necessary to deal with players who rebel against the game's purpose. The scene shifts to the protagonist, who finds himself transported to a simple, modern room. He sits on his bed, immediately checking the mysterious app on his phone with a grim expression. Meanwhile, Murano is also in a safe room, her gear hung up as she recovers from their ordeal. He stares at his updated stats, pondering the true nature of the app and his new rebellious titles. Murano emerges, having showered, revealing they've been placed in the same safe room. He immediately asks about her wounds, his concern overriding his own exhaustion. She confirms that, just like him, she awoke completely healed from their ordeal. He reflects on the 2 rebellious titles they earned for their defiance. His focus shifts to the World Interference Authority skill, now standing at a significant 66%. He deduces that these new abilities are all connected, setting them apart from other players. Murano interrupts his train of thought, having reached a surprising conclusion herself. She suggests that the masterminds behind the app might not be entirely malevolent. He stares back in shock, questioning her bizarrely optimistic assessment. She argues that they were given an escape route, proving the game's creators offered them a choice beyond a fight to the death. She compares their situation to a manga where a cynical mastermind tests humanity's worth. In her analogy, the mastermind's own fate is tied to the player's ability to cooperate. She grimaces, recalling that the manga ended tragically because everyone acted selfishly. Unconvinced by her story, he grips his phone, focusing on the cold reality of the app. His stern expression reveals he finds her optimistic theory dangerously naive. Sensing his disbelief, Murano warns him that the app is far more complex than he thinks. Elsewhere, another woman lies in bed, gazing out at a glittering city skyline. She appears lost in thought, contemplating her own circumstances within this mysterious game. A glowing, ornate system window suddenly materializes before her, confirming the game-like reality. She wonders why this specific interface is only visible to those with S-rank aptitude. Her calm contemplation is shattered as she stares in shock at the sudden notification. The system issues her an emergency quest, ordering her to hunt down and eliminate both Hiroto and Murano. The glowing quest window illuminates her room as she recoils from the grim task presented to her. She stares in utter disbelief, struggling to comprehend the murderous mission she has just been assigned. The names of her targets are displayed in stark, undeniable text, making the reality of the situation sink in. The system then presents her with a simple but life-altering choice: accept the quest or refuse.